please.
Chair Quilty,
Here.
Vice Chair Zelmer,
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt,
Here.
Commissioner Gross, Commissioner Hasty,
Here.
Commissioner Legere, excused, and Commissioner Lowe.
Here.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Okay, at this point, I'll open up oral communications for any individual in the audience who wanting to address the Planning Commission to speak on any subject matter in the jurisdiction of the commission. Remarks will be limited to no more than 5 minutes.
Thought we were going to hold that to the end.
You can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, seeing nobody come up, we'll move on to the consent calendar, which there's no items. We'll move on to the public hearing, site development permit for the Lampson project. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, good evening, Chair Colte and members of the Planning Commission. It's nice to see everyone. I just want to introduce the city's consultant behind me, Bill Halligan. He and I will be tag teaming our presentation here, okay? So tonight, we are talking about 4665 Lamson Avenue. All right, and tonight, our agenda that we're going to talk about is, and during our presentation here, is a project description, the EIR process, the EIR findings, the project consideration, and send staff recommendations.
I'm sorry, can we get that put up here too? It's usually the agendas, so everybody can see it. Oh, never mind, it's fine.
That works.
Okay. So a little bit of background, I'm going to take you back a little bit, that regional housing needs allocation, which is ARENA. Since 1969, the state of California has required that all local government adequately plan to meet the housing needs of everyone in the community. So currently, we are in the 6th cycle, and in our 6th cycle, the state of California has presented to Los Alamitos and given the ARENA number of 769. So that, of course, from our 5th cycle to our 6th cycle, that is a tremendous increase. Again, I'm not going to go into details because a lot of the planning commissioners were here during that time, but there was a long process of rezoning a lot of the sites in our city. But Planning Commission did recommend City Council for approval of our ARENA in 2022. You can see there, December of 2022. Our City Council ultimately voted to approve that at February of 23, and then the state of California approved it in November of 22. The project site, again, is at 4665 Lamson, is approximately 12.3 acres. It's north of Lamson Avenue and northwest of the intersection of Lamson Avenue Rose Street in the city of Los Alamitos. Again, this is a very unique project site because the property itself is in Los Alamitos, but some of the off-site, such as the street, is in Seal Beach. This property borders the city of Seal Beach and, of course, the city of Los Alamitos. Okay. Project description, there's currently a office building there that was housed, but now it was sold, and the redevelopment project site for a total of 246 residential units, okay, with a 20 DUA. So out of that 246, 55 single-family courtyard homes, 114 townhomes, and 77 affordable units. The single-family courthouse and the courtyard homes and the townhomes are going to be for sale, and the 77 affordable units are for more of a lease. There's 577 parking spaces in the project site. There's going to be associated infrastructure improvement, and then there's also going to be recreation, open space, amenities for residents in there, which includes a tot lot and neighborhood green space. And I want to also remind the commission that this project or this site is adjacent to Arbor Park. Project objectives, okay, is to residential development to help meet the city's RENA requirement. Again, I want to remind the commission that the RENA requirement is a mandate handed down by the state of California to us. Provide a variety of housing type and affordability to account for and accommodate increased need for housing. Improve city jobs housing balance to reduce commute distance consistent with SCAG's connect SoCal, and create residential character that provides for high-quality architectural design. Okay. Project benefit, of course, is economic development. That means it's indirect economic development. We're going to have more families here that hopefully will shop local, eat local, play local, and stay local, and of course, support local. That's our motto. You can see it right here on the banner. I know you guys can see that. Quimby fees, there's a park in lieu fees that they will be providing to the city, and then of course, increased property tax as well. This is a site plan, as you can see. The left side there, which are the blue drawings here, are the affordable units, and then on the right side is the homes, basically, which are either townhomes or SFR. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the townhomes are more situated towards the back, and the single-family homes are situated more in the middle. You can see the green space that's right dab in the middle of it. That's the open green space. And then the top lot that I referred to earlier is next to the affordable units, next to the blue buildings, and that's in the green space by that. Again, like I mentioned, Arbor Park is up to the north, or up on the top of the building, of the site plan, and Lamson is on the bottom. Want to show you some elevation of what a typical single-family home would look like, right? The first box is the right.
Can we kind of turn this, because we can't see anything, it's so small up here, and we're just seeing, we can't
Okay.
see anything, so if you wouldn't mind, thank you.
So again, these are the single-family elevations, and so it's just a schematic. You can see what a typical single-family home would look like in the project site. This will be a typical townhome elevation right here, all right? And this would be the typical multifamily or the affordable units. This is how it would look like. Okay, I want to point out a couple things about the affordable units here. Is on the bottom, if you look at the right, which it says, I know it's kind of small, but left elevation or right elevation, there are some parking garages there, right? Those parking garages will probably be for parking only. There's going to be some conditions when people come in to lease the units that they can't be used for storage or other means. And then out of the 77 units, actually one of the units is reserved for an on-site management to make sure that the rules of the affordable units are followed. We have other slides that's in the presentation to talk about the open space plan, but again, this is the plan. You can see that the purple part are the open green space for the residents or the community to utilize, and then the top lot again is to the left, and the open green space of the grass around each of the units or the homes. So tonight, we're asking the Planning Commission to request recommended approval. So I just want to clarify that here is that the ultimate approval of this project site will be City Council, and you could either approve or deny, of course, this project site, but the staff will be requesting recommended approval, and those are right here. Certify the project EIR and adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and findings and statement of overriding consideration, approval of site development permit, approval of tentative parcel map, approval of vesting tentative track map, and approval of affordable housing unit application for density bonus request, concession, and waivers. Okay? Here, I'm going to kick it off to Bill. He'll take it the rest of the way.
Thank you, Ron. Good evening, members of the commission. I'm going to talk a little bit about the EIR process, the environmental impact report. It's been in preparation for a couple of years. It started with issuance by the city of a notice of preparation, which announces to agencies and local and residents that the city's undertaking preparation of an EIR. The NOP was sent out for a 30-day public review period from October 3rd to October 20th, 2022. And that's the first opportunity for members of the public and agencies to comment on the scope of that EIR. Then the draft EIR was prepared, and that was sent out for a 45-day public review period on April 24th, 2024. And since then, there was I believe, close to 170 comment letters from members of the public and 6 agency comment letters. And each of those comment letters have received specific responses to comments, and that's part of your packet. Before City Council can certify the EIR, those responses need to go out for a 10-day public review period. Tonight, we're here at the Planning Commission hearing where members of the public and agencies also have an opportunity to speak. And then the City Council hearing date has not been set. And then if the project is approved by City Council, a notice of determination will be filed with the county clerk. Oops. So here are the environmental categories that were analyzed in the EIR, and that was based on the notice of preparation and associated initial study. So looked at air quality, biology, cultural, geology, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards, hydrology and water quality, noise, transportation, and tribal cultural resources. These issue areas, environmental categories, were found to be less than significant and did not require mitigation because they were below the thresholds. And then for biology, cultural, geo, and tribal cultural resources, they were found to be less than significant with mitigation. So the EIR did identify one significant unavoidable adverse impact, and that was related to transportation and traffic. And just to explain a little bit about how we look at traffic now. So a while back, the legislature passed Senate Bill 743. The governor signed it, and it changed how we look at traffic. So pursuant to this, to state law now, impacts based solely on level of service cannot be considered a significant impact under CEQA. So what the measure of traffic now is vehicle miles traveled. So the intent of this bill was to promote development near transit, mixed use development, and it penalizes, traditional suburban development. So based on the analysis in the EIR, the project does have a significant impact to VMT, not to level of service, but to vehicle miles traveled. And that's related to Seal Beach and Los Alamitos and where they're located in the county and not near a train station. And the project is residential only and not mixed use. So even with all feasible mitigation, the project would have a significant unavoidable impact to VMT. Therefore, a statement of overriding considerations is required. And CEQA allows lead agencies to do that. So where the benefits of a project outweigh the significant impacts, you can still approve a project under CEQA. So we'll go through some of the issues more specifically that were identified in the draft EIR and then also in the response to comments. So related to transportation and traffic congestion, the traffic analysis concluded that With restriping, the westbound left turn lane is a shared left-right at the intersection of Seal Beach Boulevard and Lamson, that adequate levels of service can be maintained. So even though that's not a CEQA impact any longer, the EIR did look at level of service. And then other issues brought up were cut-through traffic and U-turns on Lamson. So the project traffic would utilize Lamson to access either Seal Beach Boulevard or Valley View to access the regional freeway system. And internal residential streets do not provide any direct connections, so there wouldn't be any issues related to cut-through traffic because of the way the project was designed. And then additionally, U-turns there wouldn't be increased U-turns on Lamson because the project has a full access driveway at the primary entry where you can do, rights, lefts, and so there wouldn't be a need to do a U-turn. I think the concern was that if it was a right-in only and a right-in, right-out only, that could lead to increased U-turns at the signalized intersections. And then roadway safety on Lamson was brought up. There was a proposed traffic signal at the main neighborhood entry, but in coordination with the city of Seal Beach, and based on the analysis, it doesn't meet signal warrants. So a traffic signal is not required, and actually you wouldn't be able to put in a traffic signal until the traffic volumes allowed it to meet signal warrants. The existing crash rates were reviewed at Candleberry Avenue in Lamson, Rose Street in Lamson, Tulip Street in Lamson, and Valley View Street in Lamson, and they're lower than the statewide average crash rates. And the site circulation includes internal drive aisles and would allow for two-way traffic. Related to pedestrian and bicycle facilities, the project proposes frontage improvements, including median improvements, sidewalks, driveway modifications, and the project would maintain the existing Class 2 bike lane on Lamson. And driveways would meet the current city standards and accommodate pedestrian crossing per current ADA standards, and it would not create new site distance issues. For parking, parking is not considered an impact under CEQA, but in looking at, they did look, the EIR does look at parking related to Arbor Park and the dog park, and it's understood that users of the park currently use the vacant office parking to park. So two options have been proposed by the project applicant. One would be a voluntary commitment by the project to provide a 10-foot strip of land on the north boundary of the project site that would allow additional parking spaces there. And then also, in addition to that, Arbor Park could expand the parking lot to the north and provide additional parking. So with option one, that would provide up to 154 parking spaces. And then with option 1 and 2, it could provide up to 200 parking spaces. As far as on-site parking, the project includes an affordable component. So under state law, it's allowed concessions for parking. So looking at that, a parking study was done. The project provides, it would be 18% fewer than Los Alamitos city code requirements, but 26% above what is required under the California government code for affordable housing projects. And then the number of spaces provided actually exceeds the City of Seal Beach's parking standards by 84 spaces. Hydrology and wastewater infrastructure. So revisions were added to the hydrology study to address additional flows down Lamson to Ironwood and Hazelnut. And during a peak 100 year storm event, stormwater flows would be detained within the site and in an underground detention basin, so that discharge rates would not exceed the existing flow rates. So it's retained during a peak storm event, and then it's released slowly. The finished floor elevations are at least 1 foot above the peak 100-year storm event for a water surface elevation. And the stormwater flows would be detained within the detention facilities, and it would not significantly or substantially alter existing drainage patterns in the area, because the site is already developed. For sewer, there was a sanitary sewer analysis, and that concluded that existing sewer systems would accommodate additional project flows. The project is subject to connection and service fees to offset any increased demand and to assist in facility expansion and service. And then the project applicant would be required to pay development impact fees for necessary improvements. Although obviously there's already a sewer line and sewer connection there for the office, but with the homes, there would be an increase in wastewater generation. And as far as emergency vehicle access, the project site access, there's restricted emergency vehicle access point within Lamson Avenue proposed at the eastern end of the site. A fire master plan will be prepared, and that's required by OCFA. The project complies with all applicable fire codes and ordinances, and the site plan has been submitted to OCFA to ensure compliance. With regard to police protection, the Los Alamitos Police Department was contacted to determine if the project would require the construction or expansion of new facilities. And it was determined that the project would generate a typical amount of police calls for residential development, and no new facilities would be required at this time to serve the project. With regards to proximity to the Los Alamitos Joint Forces Training Base, the project site is not within a clear zone or an accident potential zone for the JFTB. So there's nothing precluding construction of this project in the adopted airport land use plan. The FAA did issue a determination of no hazard to air navigation for this project. It's not located within a flight pattern, and future buyers and tenants of the project will be notified as part of as to its location as part of the city's approval process. With regard to noise impacts and installation, the proposed residential uses would be exposed to noise levels of between 60 and 65 decibels. The project would implement sound attenuation methods to limit interior noise levels to 45 dB per the California Building Code, and a project design feature that's been incorporated in the project, and that's PDF N2. And the project would not expose people residing or working in the area to excessive noise levels from airport or airport operations. And with open space, there was a parks impact analysis, and that is included in the final EIR. The estimated visitors from the project would be well within the capacity of both Arbor Park and Heather Park. 1.33 acres of open space is provided on site for future residents. And the increase in residents would not increase such that a substantial use or deterioration of existing parks would occur. So the Planning Commission as the recommending body and not the approval body, there are 4 resolutions before you tonight. And so that the first one would be adopt resolution 2024-06, and that sending on to the city council, recommending that the city council certify the final environmental impact report. And then resolution 2024-07, recommending that the city council approve tentative parcel map for finance and conveyance purposes, and vesting tentative tract map number 19263 for condominium purposes. Resolution 2024-08, and that is a resolution recommending that the city council approve an affordable housing unit application for the project related to the multifamily units. And then adopt resolution 2024-09, recommending that the city council approve the site development permit to allow the development of 246 residential units. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Okay, with that, do we want to invite the applicant up for their presentation? Okay, the applicant would like to come forward?
Are you able to put up the slides that we have?
It's on the desktop.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is George Voigt. I'm here with the project applicant team. I'd like to thank staff very much for very clearly putting a lot of effort into that project presentation. We appreciate it very much. Thank you to the Planning Commission, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I've been lucky enough to grow up in this community and to have raised my family in this community. All 3 of my kids have been lucky enough to attend the world-class schools available here in the Los Alamitos School District. And I'm looking forward to providing a little more information about how this new neighborhood will be beneficial to the community that we live in. This housing community represents an opportunity for people who've grown up in this area to come back and buy a home and raise their families here as well. Why shouldn't there be more opportunities for people to come back and allow their kids to grow up in this great community and to attend the world-class schools that the Los Alamitos District offers? This housing community will generate over $4 million in fees to the city of Los Alamitos. This new community will also generate approximately $2 million in fees to the Los Alamitos School District. Perhaps more important, however, than the school fees are the children that this community will bring to the area. The Los Alamitos School District is not immune to the declining enrollment that school districts throughout Southern California are experiencing. This new community will help bring new students to the district and assist with that issue. This neighborhood community is also something I feel the city of Los Alamitos will ultimately be very proud of. The architectural attention to detail, the building materials that were selected will produce a very elegant and beautiful finished product. This new neighborhood was designed with a diverse mix of homes for current and future residents within an existing community that we look forward to being a part of. In the 60s and 70s, there were undoubtedly people who were up in arms about all of the perceived impacts that would affect the area with the addition of College Park East and Rossmore. If those voices at that time were listened to, then none of the opponents of this project would have had a chance to buy a home in this area and raise their families here. This new neighborhood is no different. People have a hard time with change, and I understand that. I really do. But that isn't a good enough reason to oppose this new neighborhood and to not allow it to move forward, particularly given all of the overwhelmingly positive benefits that this neighborhood will provide. We appreciate everybody's time, and myself and the other members of our development team are here to answer any specific questions that you may have. And with that, I'd like to introduce Todd Cottle with CNC Firm Development to introduce his firm.
Thank you, George. My name is Todd Cottle, and I'm with CNC Development. We're excited to be here this evening, excited to be working in the city of Los Alamitos, and excited to be part of this development team. CNC Development, we're a family business based here in Orange County. We've been providing affordable and workforce housing for over 30 years. Run a fight? I'm sorry. Technology is not. Advantage of the affordable community. But CNC Development, in addition to being the affordable developer, we're also going to be the owner and manager of the affordable community. CNC Development, we've never sold an affordable development that we've built. So as we look at our buildings, we look at the design, we look at the operations, we look at it from the long term in mind. We're looking at this development in addition to providing affordable housing, but as a long-term partnership with the city to help meet its goals and do so in a strategic and a thoughtful way. CNC Development, as we look at our communities, because we don't sell it, it comes into the long-term management, the long-term ownership as we're making decisions for our materials that we're using. So we're making decisions around our community space, internal and exterior of the building, as well as circulation and livability. We're looking at it based upon a long-term history of serving the community and providing affordable housing. These 77 new units are designed to serve lower-income Los Alamitos residents, our local workforce, and veterans within the community. This development represents the first new opportunity to provide affordable housing within the city in over 30 years, and this would be the second of only two communities in town. There's one other community right now that folks may be familiar with. It's Klein Manor, adjacent to Laurel Park. And looking forward to this opportunity to help with the existing affordable housing stock. The project will provide an on-site leasing office, an on-site manager that will both live and work at the community. That manager and their family will be there during the day with their office hours, but then will also be there after hours as well. The construction of the community will include approximately 2,800 square feet of community space, which will be comprised of our leasing office, our on-site community room space, and a computer room. We'll provide on-site resident services that will consist of after-school programming and also adult education services. Those services will be available not only for our residents, but we open those community rooms, the community centers, and that programming to the surrounding community, which we have found to work very well over the years. We want to make sure that as, say, we have a resident that attends the after-school learning program, if they have, say, a friend of theirs from school in the for sale component that's next door, we want to make sure that those children also have the opportunity to participate and for everybody to be involved. This development will have a shared electric vehicle for the use of the community that will be sponsored and paid for by the development that residents will be able to log in to register and to be able to check out. Something that we're proud of in working on this development is that this community will have a local leasing preference for individuals and households that currently live in the city of Los Alamitos or work in the city of Los Alamitos, really creating that jobs housing balance, that local connectivity, and also proud of the fact that this community will include a 25% preference for veteran households. And with that, that concludes my remarks, but I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, well, we can move on to questions for staff
All right.
if we. Do you want to start, Art?
For staff, we have a lot split. The for the affordable housing located on the west side of the parcel, a question for staff, that is the driveway that runs through from the affordable housing, let's say, into the, from the affordable housing into the market rate housing. Since that is a separate lot, that can be sold, even, regardless of we've heard that they don't sell it, but it is its own property, it can be sold. We have a roadway there that leads to a drive on the westerly side, and my concern is what would stop the property owner, either one, on the market rate side versus the affordable side, to simply close that off. That's a private road. Once you split the lot, you have the potential for a barrier there. So that's my first question. I would think that it would behoove that we require, or that they provide an easement, probably a reciprocal easement, that would be recorded on the property to, so that each can use that driveway, that it can't be, closed off in the future.
Yeah.
That's my first question.
That could be made a condition of approval, that driveway never be closed,
I'm talking,
if you would like to do that.
well, a condition, but I'm talking about an easement.
In the what? An easement?
An easement. Creating an
Reciprocal
easement that
driveway
runs, that is
agreement?
recorded on the property, that would allow for the use.
That would be a question for Michael.
Yeah, and I think that may be a question that could be referred to the applicant. It's my suspicion that because this is a community that has a comprehensive theme and interaction between the various components, that they're likely to have easements contemplated or in place that will allow access and free movement between the two components and affordable market rate. So again, just to simplify, that's probably a question for applicant. I would suspect that there are already plans or thoughts that they've had about ensuring that there is the ability to traverse between the various housing types there.
Yeah, let's have the applicant come up. I'd like to, I don't want to be bouncing around.
Yeah,
so.
we appreciate it, and that's a very, very good question, because that's how the community's designed at this point in time, but over the life cycle of the development, there will be a reciprocal access agreement between the affordable component and then between the homeowners association on the for sale component, which would preclude that. In addition to that, it's not only circulation, but there are some shared utilities for sewer, for water between the two parcels as well. All of that will get memorialized within that reciprocal access agreement. But working in conjunction with the city on that as we finalize that, to put a prohibition of ever putting a gate within there specifically between the two, that's something that we can definitely accomplish.
I'll just carry it just a little bit farther. If this were one parcel, not subdivided, and it was located there, yeah, I would go along with that. The reciprocal agreement, I mean, these should be recorded on the property.
They will.
On both. I would think also be shown on a track map. I would think.
Yeah.
We have a parcel map. I would think that we would want to have, most easements are delineated on a track map, and
I'm going to refer that specific question to our civil engineer, who's here, can answer the question relative to the parcel.
Hello, Dane McDougall, C&V Consulting. I'm the civil engineer. And on the tentative track map, sheet 1 of 4, there's a little hexagon with an A on it, and that indicates a proposed easement dedicated to the city of Los Alamitos for access. And so it's doing exactly what I think you're trying to get to, is the city actually has an easement that goes from the affordable site over kind of all these access roads, in fact. So the city would have the ability to preclude a gate or anything like that in your guys' easement.
well, let me that leads then to the next question, are these city-owned streets?
No, they're not. It's a easement that the city of Los Alamitos retains for access. You have the right to go in and, like, for example, drive a fire truck. That's kind of what the purpose of it is. But these are all privately maintained roads and streets, though
All right.
they can't tell you
Okay,
guys
so
not-
so there is some protection there for.
Yeah.
That this cannot, plus an agreement, evidently. All right. Keep going?
Yeah.
Parkland fees. You mentioned that. What's the dollar amount? Do we have an idea?
Yeah,
The city?
it's approximately over $3 million.
All right. Further question for staff. This is regarding the affordable housing and trash. Okay. I noticed on the site plan that I saw that there is only one trash enclosure. This might be for the applicant as well. There's only one trash enclosure for 77 units. I see 4 bins that are in there. Our code requires on units in excess of 10 units to have additional trash enclosures on site. I think that that does need to be addressed. We have currently, we're dealing with a requirement now for recycling, that we would have, in addition to trash, we have to have a recycling bin. We also have organics coming up, and I don't know what's going to be required in that commercial arena, if that's going to be another organics bin or smaller carts, et cetera, but soon we will all be having garbage pails in our homes and apartments and being required to deal with that. So it would seem to me that the site plan is deficient in that, in my opinion, we probably need at least 2 more trash enclosures, one for each. Well, we have one sitting at the north end of the property. I would think we would need at least one adjacent to each building. You've got 77 units there. Unless you're going to have trash service every day, you're going to be pretty well filled. I don't know if the applicant wants somebody, I can see somebody coming up off his seat there, so.
Before you, so a couple things here is the code you refer to 10 plus for commercial, which is multi-units. That distinction is primarily for you have a residential bin versus a commercial bin, which is what we consider a 3-yard bin.
Right.
So when you have a multi-unit property that's 10 plus, you may no longer use the the residential bin. You have to convert it to the 3-yard commercial bin.
Right.
But we don't have a code that states that for every, I'm just using example, every 20 units, you need to have one 3-yard bin. So if you have 40 units, you have 2-yard bin, all right? So that's one. Second one is what you were referring to in terms of organics, waste recycling, and trash. That is what we call SB 1383. We've been on that journey with the state for several years now. We just got our audit this past couple weeks, I believe. But last year we complied with the state of California in terms of our SB 1383 at 100% compliance. We are a unique city because we do not require a 3-cart system. We have a 2-cart system. So basically, in layman's term, we have 2 trash bins. I know you don't see that in the residential, but you see it more in the commercial, where you could put the trash and the organics in one bin and the recycle in the second bin. So we have a very unique trash, and that's due to our hauler. Right, but to answer the number, I'm going to ask the applicant to address that.
Thank you. And good question in the operations, and it has been unique over the last few years as trash policy from the state has changed, and how that affects existing communities, space that's provided, and how you look towards the future in kind of a changing environment. We designed it in a way with a centralized location for trash collection, and we do address the size of the community, the frequency of use by scaling over time what the frequency of pickup is. With the single location on the way that we have it designed here, it would really be a daily pickup occurrence that's occurring at that one location. However, I do hear the question and the potential concern with proximity as well. If we have the ability maybe to bring up a site plan, maybe that helps
Yeah, it would help.
in discussing that. But I think there could be the opportunity to add another location, that maybe a second location, but not a third location, but something that would, I think, achieve the same goal of servicing, from a proximity standpoint, I think the community a little bit better. I'll show you on the screen here.
Tom, if you go to the presentation, there was a site plan on the presentation.
Well, what's prompting this, I've managed property for 50 years, including apartment complexes here in town.
Yeah,
I can tell you that that for 10 units, one bin, for 10,
yeah,
is a adequate,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
You're talking at least 30 units, well, how many, 25 units in each building,
yeah.
thereabouts. And
It changed.
you're going to need, I think it gets into a health and safety issue with respect to trash and also with respect to convenience. You want obviously you want, the people will ultimately dispose of it. I can go from experience that when you make it the distance too far, the trash does not leave the apartment as quickly as I would take it out of my own home or you would.
We can appreciate that as well,
And,
especially when you don't have.
that leads to roaches and this type of a thing. If the convenience factor is an issue.
Yeah.
If you've been managing property, you know that.
It is. So as we were looking at it, as iterative process going through, I'm going to step away from the microphone and come back just so I can show what we were contemplating. I think there's the ability, so the trash enclosure's up in the northern side of the site, which again, the plan is to service it based upon frequency. But I think we have the ability to come back in this portion of the property and add some bins next to this building here, thinking that what you have is that would service this building's being serviced from proximity here. But as you're leaving the center building, you're either going north, or what that would do is that would give you the ability to come here to south and then throw your garbage away here at this location. But splitting it up into two gives folks, either depending upon where you are.
And what's currently in that location? Do you have parking in that location?
No, we don't. So it was looking potentially being able to expand the footprint of the building a little bit on the first floor, not the second floor or the third floor with the massing, but to be able to pick up some extra bins in that location. But thinking that would be something, if it would be okay with the planning commission, to work further through with city staff to make sure it's appropriately sized for the additional bins in that location.
Staff is noting this, so, all right. You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna, let's see. Staying on the west side in the affordable housing, parking. Our code requires that a parking space at a right angle be 19 feet. On the east side of of the drive, that would be pointing into the lot line, where the lot line is. Those spaces are 17 feet, not 19 feet. And I don't know how many you have there, because I had a hard time, determining how many. But anyway, I think that's something for either for our staff or for you know, I think you're going to lose quite a few spaces, probably about 10, 15, maybe 20 spaces, which is going to
Commissioner,
impact.
can I clarify that you're saying that it's 19 feet wide or 19 feet in length? The
Length.
parking, length, okay.
Length.
And to add to that, I did see that in the conditions that to be 19 feet.
Right. But it's 19 feet on the west side of that drive, and there's 17 feet on the east side. So I have the,
I can field that, yeah. So we've looked at that, and to your point, it's just on that eastern edge where those stalls have that 17-foot width, or depth, rather. The idea is that the curb operates as the wheel stop, and there's a couple feet available for overhang. That's an aesthetic decision. It's softscape typically when there's as little opportunity for softscape there is why they chose to do that. But we're perfectly fine changing that and just shrinking the portion of that planter by 2 feet to accommodate the entire 19 feet depth, if that's the commissioner's preference.
my preference is that it be 19 feet. If I remember correctly from the typical, I don't remember what sheet it was. Maybe I do. I brought two, if that's the one that I have. If I don't have it, I don't have it. I do have it. Okay. I'm looking at the sheet 2 of 4 on the, it's called typical sections. And it has the typical section D, 26-foot private drive, and that'll be the one on the west side.
I believe at the end of the parking stalls on the eastern edge is a planter, and there's plenty of room to just cut that planter back by 2 feet and provide the 19 feet of surface area. We're happy to make that change.
You have a 20% grade on that, beyond that
I don't,
17 feet.
I'll let Alan speak to that. I don't think we have a grade issue there, but Alan, if you could come up and maybe
Well, I
speak
guess
to
I'm
that.
looking
Or
at it.
Dane, maybe, yeah.
Well, it's not green space. Yeah, it is green space too, isn't it? Is that part of the green space?
It's a planter area. It's not calculated as the open space, if that's,
But we do have a green, don't we have a green?
15%. Yeah.
How tight are they on that?
so, but that on section D, that 20% that you're seeing,
Yep.
it's 20% max. That's just to state that the building code says you can go 20% max before it becomes a 2-to-1 slope. The grades are actually pretty flat. It's kind of a, you know, as you guys I'm sure know, it's a pretty flat site out there. So you're at like a 24 elevation pad, you know, which is where the house is, and the top of curbs at like a 23.5.
Fine,
But,
I'm not,
yeah.
I'm not in your wheelhouse. I'm looking at what I'm reading what I see. And I see 17 feet when we should have 19 feet. How you get there
Yeah.
is okay with me. On the other hand, I guess this gets into how is that going? We have landscaping requirements 15%. Now, we are splitting this lot. We're creating a separate lot. Are we calculating the green space over the overall 12 acres? Or are we, once we divide this parcel, are we requiring 15% within that one parcel?
That's a new thought.
I
Haven't calculated
you know,
that.
I don't know where we go with this with respect to creating properties that are not in compliance with the code once you subdivide it. It's maybe getting a little bit far afield here, but I think that's something that we need to look into, and staff can look into that. We don't need to go too deep into that tonight.
Commissioner, I made a note of it. We'll take a look into it.
There also is, the width of the aisle is 26 feet, and the city only requires 24 feet wide aisle. And so that extra 2 feet beyond the 17 feet that you're noticing to make it 19 feet. Could be just a case of painting the stripe 2 more feet out into the
Is that
driveway.
by chance a fire lane where the fire is
That would be
requiring
for them. Is it a fire lane that has to be 26 feet? Correct. Okay.
so
All
we
right,
can we encroach into a fire
So-
lane?
No.
Fine, okay, fine, all right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but we'll research that.
All right.
Yeah.
Want me to keep going?
Yeah.
All right. All right, I think that's what I have on that 2-acre parcel. On the market rate homes, another issue with trash. Can you put up sheet L7 on the trash? And while they're doing that, okay, my concern is that in the market rate homes where they're going to be going to the two carts, the trash carts, right now it'll be recycle and trash. I don't know where we'll go with the organic, so hopefully it still goes to 2. The question is, where are the carts being stored? Are they do all of the units have outside storage?
Yeah, some of them are in the yard, some are in the garage, but we have 3 allocated for every house and townhome. So we're planning for that the requirement for a third
Or a
bin.
third?
Yeah.
And they're stored in the garage?
Some are and some are on the side yard, but they're all on site on each individual property, correct?
I find that to be unsanitary. That's my opinion. I mean, do you store your trash in the garage? I don't. I mean,
Some people do. In communities like this throughout Southern California, it's not atypical for that to be the case. I think that ultimately that's going to be a decision that a homeowner's going to have to make
Okay.
as to whether for them that's
Okay.
problematic or not.
and then, again, a question, and possibly for staff. We didn't have, I couldn't look at the interior dimensions of the garages, okay? These are primarily 1-car garages, correct? Some are 2.
Some are 2 and some are.
We have interior clear spaces, okay, so it's got to be like 10 by 20 clear for the vehicles. Are there recessed areas for the carts to be stored so that they're not encroaching into the
That's
parking
correct. We have to maintain the clear to space requirements, so they are recessed, yes.
And that's described somewhere, shown somewhere on the, I couldn't find them. Everything was kind of small, so
It would be on the floor plans of the garages, was where you would see that for those that would be stored internally.
and our staff can verify that, just in the future, not right now.
Okay.
This is obviously, these are the questions that I've come up with.
Right.
In
Understood.
Yeah. And then, you might as well stay there.
Okay.
And then, along with that, is the pickup. Did you find L7 on the trash? I think that is the one I brought. Have you seen this? Have you?
The trash circulation plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Trash circulation plan. The curbside pickup on these is, in most cases, well, not in most cases, in some cases, depending on where you're located, you're about 300 feet.
I think it's closer to 200, but I understand the concern, yeah. I mean, in communities where you have clusters of townhomes, in planned developments like this, it's not uncommon for there to be some units that are obviously further away than the ones that are closer to the curb. I think, again, ultimately, that's a decision that an individual townhome owner, when they select their unit, or if that's the last one, they'll have to decide whether, rolling those out to the curb 200 feet is problematic enough for them to choose to live elsewhere. But
I think it's a little more than 200. I tried to scale it off. I'm assuming these plans are to scale,
They
but
are. It's slightly over 200, but it's closer to 200 than 300. But I understand the concern. But I think the answer would hold true either way.
for
But that's a decision a homeowner would have to make.
frame of reference, it would kind of like be if you're in your neighborhood, in your house, it's like hauling your carts 4 houses down
Yeah.
to,
The single-family homes don't have that, I understand, but the townhomes, I mean, there are differences of living in a townhome beyond the need to take your trash cans out, 200 or 300 feet,
and this is going to be disclosed to these,
it will be, absolutely,
okay,
yes,
fine.
yes.
all right. I think, and the, if I can come back, go ahead. Anybody else? No, I'm done. I'm
Wendy,
done.
do you
I'm done
want
right now.
So, yeah, first off, we're talking about RENA numbers. Am I getting confused? Affordable housing is RENA numbers, right?
That's part of the RENA
We're-
numbers.
RENA
Yes.
numbers.
And we have to have 769 RENA affordable housing homes.
No.
Half of those would be affordable.
So but remember, our city council added 500 to that number. If I remember right, you guys brought that
No.
up to our attention.
No,
Now,
they,
even then, that still says that we have to find 50% of that has to be affordable housing.
correct,
77 isn't 50%.
right.
So that concerns me because we have to look realistically where we are going to put affordable housing in this city. And if that lot was affordable, that's where we should address it first and have 100% affordable on that lot, not a partial. The other thing that concerns me a little bit right now, and I have a lot of different questions too, but I was told, I have not had any pre-meetings with the city in advance of this. I got nothing in advance other than my push to get the draft EIR sometime back, just to kind of scan through it. I've had no packets given to me until last Thursday. I was told you're going to get a packet for 2,515 pages. This is what I honestly thought we were all talking about until I begin to realize I'm looking through my packet, and I have 33 out of 2,515 pages. Where's the rest of them? Where's the rest of my packet?
Right here.
But they're not numbered the same, so how do I reference them all? How do I know what's what in these? You're telling me page 11, 19? I have 33 of 2,515. And then my next page is 1. Where's the rest of the packet?
It's in the
But
EIR and the technical.
okay, but their number doesn't go inconsistent, so I can follow some of this.
It doesn't go inconsistent with what's on the website, but it does in your packet. In your packet, it's.
Okay, if you say so. So those are some of my concerns. I have a lot of different concerns. I am going to say this, though, right now with the trash. Where I live, when the homes were built right near me, the townhomes in the back alley, at that time, the development director allowed them to take out the enclosed trash container area. And they allowed them to supposedly, in their contract, they're supposed to keep their trash cans in their garage. That was written into the contracts. We don't hire people to go around to make sure people do their job. It's not our job to make sure that they're following what the agreement was. The trash cans are in the alley, and we end up getting those things hit and whatnot. The trash gets spilled all over the place. Putting them, I agree, putting them in the garage, I think is a health hazard, but also putting them outside without having them properly stored or in an enclosed container is just setting us up to have trash all over the place. So I have concerns about how we're addressing that trash part of this, along with the enclosures and making sure that it's right, before we just tell people, well, you can put it in your garage, because they won't. It'll be outside. And I'll guarantee you, it will be outside. It's outside by me, and we're the ones that deal with it. But I have a lot more, but I think we should go on for some others so we can let people speak.
Can I offer a comment on that? The unique aspect of this project, unlike the one that it sounds like you're describing, Commissioner, is that it's got an HOA with very strict prohibitions and requirements. So none of that would be able to occur. There's an on-site manager who's there ostensibly to ensure that garages aren't used for storage, trash and things of that nature that are required through the HOA and CCNRs are followed to and adhered, and the same is true of the market rate with the HOA conditions. So I assure you that those types of issues will not be of concern.
Sir, but would the on-site manager be part of the affordable housing only? Or
Correct.
he-
Correct.
Because that would be two separate entities, the HOA with the board from the HOA, and so the on-site manager wouldn't be addressing the concerns for the townhomes.
That is correct. But the HOA itself, for the market rate, which has the trash cans individually for each home, has very, very definitive CCNRs as well, where the community itself would not be able to, wouldn't allow that, and there's a way to police that. And there's also the ability to call the city if the people are violating that. But the HOA CCNRs govern that, as opposed to the project that it sounds like the commissioner was referring to, where they don't have that type of teeth available to help enforce those types of things.
So the number of HOA people would not be able then, this would be a strict compliance rule where they can't then change it by a plurality or, you know?
There are abilities for homeowners association groups to change things, but not if there are conditions of approval that restrict those.
Correct, Commissioner. I believe it's in the condition of use that the trash cans has to be inside the garage, if so be. And so if that's not adhered to, we have a code enforcement division that will go and handle that issue.
And I'll tell you, I've lived in townhomes where it's been restricted like that, where the garbage was in the garage, no problem. It didn't stink up the house or anything. They had little alcoves that were set aside. They were taken out once a week. I mean, you gotta be sanitary yourself too.
Right.
So, but that is not uncommon for having lived in townhomes. I've had a few different ones that I've lived in, that was where you stored your garbage bins, so.
Thank you.
My question is, if anybody can address the affordable housing requirements. The gentleman came up, he said there was a 25% preference to veterans, there was a preference to people who lived in the neighborhood already, people who lived in it. I haven't seen any actual numbers of identifying what is actually affordable housing. Now, I looked it up myself, but I know that was a cause of concern for a lot of people. Who qualifies for affordable housing? What is your median income when you start renting these out? Who are you looking for? You're looking for best qualified candidates. I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, affordable housing, we're coming in and we're gonna put a bunch of Section 8 people in there, and it's gonna be, you know, essentially a lower neighborhood. It's gonna lower neighborhood values.
Correct.
So if somebody else can address that, I've seen this, but I wanna see, you know, what their take on is, because they said they're also gonna be the property manager. Who are you guys looking for? What are gonna be the requirements for income? If you guys have a planned rental roll, what that's gonna look like, what you guys estimate, what monthly rent is for these units are gonna be, if you guys have that information.
Would the applicant? Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, we do, and really we go into any development, affordable housing development, and look at it strategically, not only what is our rent, what are our rents gonna be, what are those income levels, which are tied to county median income. So any of our income levels for the household size, and it depends upon the people that you have within your household, what that maximum income could be, but those rents are set by county and median income, and they go up annually by county and median income. We're also looking at this particular development to be strategic on who we're serving and how we're serving that. So having the preference for individuals that either live currently in town or work in town is part of trying to capture and serve the residents of Los Alamitos. You look at it, it's affordable housing, and I think your question relative to, is it Section 8 vouchers, how does that work? And I think that's a lot of folks' perception when they originally think affordable housing. You think, an 8-story tower that's 100% Section 8, folks don't need to work, folks are just hanging out all day long looking for something to do, which is not the reality, which is not the case. We really categorize it, when we say affordable housing, especially for a family community, we're really talking workforce housing. You know, these are individuals, these are families that are working within the local community, having that tie-in with the jobs, or either folks that currently work here. You know, the plan is to work in conjunction with the local chamber, get the word out to the local business community to make sure that local employers in town are able to also educate their employees that there's affordable housing and housing that's going to be below market, but it's quality housing within close proximity. You know, it's somebody, you know, cutting their commute time, you know, by a quarter or even more, giving them more time with their family, more time to be available for after-school sports and programming that way. So it's very strategic. Also, the ability in with the tie-in with the base that we have here in town, be able to make that nexus and make that connection with the veterans component, with the veterans preference for 19 of those units as well. That goes into the thought process. The rents, when you ask, and the incomes where you ask, it is a range of incomes, because with some of the affordable financing programs that are in place, you have some units that are down at the lower end of the range, but those units are offset, which helps the project to financially underwrite by units at the higher end of the range. So the project will have a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. But if you're looking, say, at the lowest of the low for a 1-bedroom, and these are today's numbers, and again, every year they'll change. Lowest of the low, say, for a 1-bedroom is about $850, and there's only a handful of those. And you go and you look at, say, your highest 2-bedroom unit that you would have, that would be in the low to mid $2,000 range. And so, you know, the income levels that's servicing, again, going down to kind of that lowest of the low, where you would have a single individual, that would be approximately $47,000 per year that you could have an annual income. But if you look at the higher end of that range, and it skews on the higher end of the range, which helps to subsidize the lower units, for a family of 4, that's about $110,000. So when folks think affordable housing, you know, again, we live in an expensive community, we live in an expensive county. What you categorize as affordable housing is not that same perception, but that's just the cost of living of what we have here in Orange County. But really the goal is to give folks a quality place to live, a good place to raise their family, hopefully in close proximity to their work, but at a rental rate that's, you know, a few $100s for the high end, but on the lower end, you know, $1,000+ than what they would find within the surrounding community for a new unit, a nice unit to call home.
Thank you. I have one more quick question regarding the parking. And I know with the affordable housing, we've been given this bonus thing, which reduces the number of spaces per unit that we are required to go. Now, when I know the space, you're pretty landlocked. There's not a whole lot of walkability there. Have we gone into looking into how people can walk west towards Seal Beach Boulevard, the marketplace over there, or east towards Lamson? I mean, has that been considered? I don't even believe right now on that, what would be north end of the street, there's even a sidewalk. So have we looked into the ability of these people to walk anywhere as well?
I'm going to ask Bill to help me out, but the thing there is the sidewalk and the street is in the city of Seal Beach jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, you know, in the presentation that Bill was stating that, you know, we're going to maintain bike lanes so people can bike. There is sidewalk on the opposite side so people can get to where you're referring to. But anything in terms of infrastructure, there will be some infrastructure improvement. But again, that is between the applicant and the city of Seal Beach. And so at this time, we in the city of Los Alamos, we're not aware of that because we're not part of that discussion. I don't know if the applicant wants to address that.
I would just say that as you head further west on the north side of the street, on our neighborhood side, even if you went west from our site, once you pick up at the JFTB, there's no sidewalk that extends there anyways, and there's not likely going to be one at any point in time. So adding a sidewalk to nowhere really wouldn't do a whole lot anyways. But there is safe passage, obviously, at Rose to walk across the street. If somebody were inclined to want to walk all the way to Seal Beach Boulevard, they would just do so on the south side of the street. And the same would be true if they wanted to go east towards Valley View.
I have a few. So the first question is probably for staff. Basically, I have a couple questions just based on the review of the packet here. Everything that I'm seeing in the packet looks like to me that this is and represented as a single applicant, single project. So, and I'm seeing, Lamson Park LLC. I mostly this is regarding the resolution, the 07, which is regarding the split of the parcels. So when I see that, I see, it's really easy to see that parcel 1 becomes the apartments and parcel 2 becomes the market value, single-family homes. My question is, being that the project is, I did see in the conditions that grading is to commence at the same time. I don't know if you saw that, but I didn't see anything about construction starting at the same time. So my question being is, the current applicant, because I've heard the CNC now, owner and developer, is the developer, are they the owner and developer of parcel 1? And then parcel 2 is this Lamson Park Place, or are you all one entity? And the reason I bring that up is because the market value homes are benefit, obviously, there's major considerations that the city has to make, and by law, they're afforded those because, the density reductions, the parking reductions, the common open space reductions, height considerations, those are all values to the market value development. So my concern about splitting the property now, and I'm glad the other entities showed up here, and actually I can see that there is a plan for the parcel 1. But looking at it, by dividing it now, it seems like 2 separate projects can go on their own path, and a lot of things can happen in that time. So can anybody answer that? Is this a single applicant, single project?
So it is a single project, but I'm going to have, if I can, request the applicant to further detail on that, but it is a single project.
Yeah, so we are the applicant. Todd is our affordable builder development partner who will be assuming parcel 1 once the map is recorded, and we'll manage that and we'll develop that portion of the project. The project, however, is designed with continuous traffic circulation, shared infrastructure, shared amenities that exist throughout the entire project on both sides, and it was designed intentionally to be dealt with that way. The only reason for the bifurcation is because of the capital requirements for affordable housing to get built, as you may imagine, given the lower rent restrictions. There are a host of bond and tax subsidies that Todd will seek through various sources in order to make the project underwrite, and we're donating the land to him in order to make it even underwrite because the city doesn't have any revenue available to provide assistance in that like other cities do throughout Southern California. So for financing purposes alone, that is the reason why those 2 get split out. The market rate the grading, to your point, will happen at the same time, but the pace of construction on the affordable site will be determined a little bit based on when Todd qualifies for bond and tax financing. So there will be a slightly staggered construction schedule. But besides that, they're one continuous project in that context in every other way, so.
Okay, I think I guess with that being said, it seems that one of the conditions could be, I guess I don't have any objection to the subdivision of the property because it totally makes sense because you got the one that's owned and managed by the one firm, and then everybody else is in the HOA. So it makes sense. The part I'm having a hard time is dividing it now. I understand for the financing, but maybe a condition that there's nothing to stop. I guess you get the benefits of all of by building the low-income housing, you get the benefits before you built it. So, and you could literally sell it to somebody else if you wanted to. I know it's good faith that you're going to give it away, but I guess I would like to see a condition in there that says that it's actually going to get built and not sold off to somebody else.
This may address your concern. Condition 16 under the affordable housing density bonus calls for, prior to the issuance of any building permit on parcel 2, which is the market rate, and after recordation of the parcel map, which would split the 2 parcels, the applicant shall convey parcel 1 to an affordable housing provider, which
Okay.
would be Todd. So I think that is, I think what you're asking for.
All right. Second question was, I heard the easement of the 10 feet in the back of the property, and I'm sure that was to address parking in Arbor Park. Has staff talked to the base at all? Or, I guess, Seal Beach leases that park now. I know a strip of land is great, but I think to make that a safe, it even says in here for public access and parking, there are some improvements that have to happen in there that would be, it's a great gift, but I think to make it feasible, there are some things that have to happen back there, out of our control.
Commissioner, you're correct. It is base property, but it is currently leased by the city of Seal Beach. And to answer your question, yes, we have talked to Seal Beach about the park. Correct.
But the base would need to approve any improvements to Arbor
Ultimately,
Park.
not for improvements, no, because they have that control, it's leased to, so I give example here.
Yeah,
We have the exact same type with Little Cottonwood Park. Little Cottonwood Park is a base property, but we have an agreement to utilize that for our own park, for open green space. We can go in there and, put new park amenities or make the parking lot bigger or do improvements without having to go through the base. Now, if we were to change the footprint, like ask for more land or decrease the land or put commercial property or rezone or anything like that, then yes, we'd have to go to the base for that. But in terms of leaving it as open green space or a park, we don't need that.
that's not what I'm talking, I'm talking
Okay.
about making it parking. Adding, if you made that parking over there to satisfy people, you'd have to
Oh.
widen the lane, put the spots in, or at least even if it's dirt, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was over there today, it's not feasible. So
Okay,
I think
I'm
it's something we
sorry.
need to look
I
into.
misunderstood your question. How do there is a rationale for the 10-foot dedication, and yes, it is used for parking. I don't want to, again, I don't want to speak because currently we do not, the city of Los Alamitos does not control that park, and so I don't want to speak on behalf of another agency or another city, but I'll just tell you the rationale for the 10-foot dedication is for parking.
Yeah, 'cause that's what the packet says, so I'm just bringing to light that if that's the case, I think we have to think about what those other impacts are. I mean, a gift of 10 feet times 850 feet is great, but I think we have to make sure that's feasible and workable.
Understood.
And I'll probably have a few more questions
Oh.
after we hear from the public, but not right now.
All right. Your comments has sparked two questions for me. One, and it was on my list here, the easement. Okay, I'm reading, it's not, whatever. This is under the concessions, and this is under the reduced common area requirement. There's I'm going to read the rationale. It says here that the city's municipal code requires a minimum of 200 square feet of common area and 60 square feet of private area space per unit. The project will be able to comply with the minimum private space requirement, that's the 60 feet. But the project will not be able to comply with the common area requirement, that's of the 200 square feet, per unit, because the city requests that the applicant dedicate the northerly 10 feet strip of land abutting Arbor Park, which comprises an area of about 10,000 square feet. If this area is dedicated to the city, then the project will be unable to comply with the common area requirement because compliance with this requirement would physically preclude the construction of the project at the densities allowed with the concessions described. I'm, in listening to the comment, I am of the opinion that it is more important for the quality of this project, for the quality of the people who are going to live there, that they have the 200 square feet of open space within the project, and that the city not request this 10-foot easement. mainly because the city, the property is still owned by the base. At some point, I have to think in the future that with, conversations with the city, with the base, we could probably acquire that officially, and maybe even a little more land around there to expand that park. Now, what I would recommend as part of this to the city council, there are $3 million in parkland fees that you're going to be generated out of this site. And I believe that we should recommend that $3 million be earmarked specifically for Arbor Park improvements, maintenance, whatever, at the point in time where the city, either acquires it or, so that there's a block of funds to do something with that. I think I'm having problems overall with this project because I feel that it's too tight. This is in the market rate. I'm okay with the apartments. I'm troubled with the density, even though I know it's allowed. We don't, this is all falling under this umbrella of affordable housing. And so there are conditions that there are concessions that they're entitled to and waivers that they can request or vice versa or whatever. But I do believe that in the long term, we need to make sure that there's sufficient open space, common area space in the project. And I think that this 10,000 feet that could be generated for what's it called? Common area, be utilized inside that complex. And the city we shouldn't be requesting, because that's a we're taking 10 feet off the top end of the property. I don't think it's going to be.
Are there pass-throughs between the property and Arbor Park, where the people
And that's another question.
people will be able to utilize
have
Arbor Park
access.
as a green space as itself, even though it's not calculated into? Right now, there's one gate that people use from the parking lot. Are there going to be multiple gates or multiple pass-throughs?
The idea is, to the extent that it's allowable, that there will be paseo access gates that will be timed and shut off and no longer able to go in or out based on the hours of operation of Arbor Park. And so they'll time with that.
At each cul-de-sac, so to speak?
That's correct, yeah. So
Okay.
there'll be direct paseo access back there for that
Right.
purpose. I mean, what better open space area for those residents than immediately being able to
then-
access Arbor Park?
And then my last comment, okay, that was kind of my thought sparked by the commissioner at the end. And that has to do with the building out of this project. I have a concern with the comment about funding and seeking funding. You're going to proceed on and start with the market rate. And here we're going to have a parcel that is contingent upon a third party seeking financing, tax breaks, whatever, okay, to get this built. And if he can't get it, I'm just going to go to the, nothing's a certainty, but if they're unable to secure the financing for that, I don't want to see an empty lot there. Okay, and here's another concern that I have. The Affordable Housing Act is providing a host of benefits in the form of density to the apartment complex. That apartment complex at 25 units an acre, okay, is 1.5 times. It's got about a 50% bonus just on that. Okay, you've got 77 units, 25 an acre. Okay, there's an extra 25 units in there, in those 2 acres. Okay, that is benefiting that parcel. But the market rate housing also gets the benefit of these concessions of lack of parking, lack of guest spaces. I do believe that, if we applied our R3 code to the market rate houses, we'd probably see a less dense project. But we're precluded from doing that because of the Affordable Housing Act, okay? I can tell you, in my opinion, you're underparked on your guest. I haven't asked staff to go through and give us a full, if we were to, if we were to apply the all of our R3 development standards to the market rate housing without the Affordable Housing Act, how many fewer units we would have in there. And my concern is that the affordable housing doesn't get built. I think that was what the Commissioner was kind of alluding to at the end. And so I have a concern with that. If you owned it, and you're building out the market rate, you're gonna, and those should sell first, I would think, that, the way the market is and all that, if it continues, you'll generate the money and to build the balance of it out, we could get it going all at one time and to be done. I have a concern that we could end up with, an empty property. Something happens, the market changes, financing changes, and we're left with all the benefits to the one side, and we're, how many years do we go then and waiting before the affordable housing gets built? I would think that we should be starting, I don't know that we should do the lot split at the time of approval. Maybe it should be at the time when everything is completed and we split the lot. I'm just thinking out loud. This is something that needs to be, I think, our staff, maybe you with the staff, need to get together, and that's a real concern. I mean, I've seen this happen in other developments, mainly in Long Beach, where builders would start and they just don't get finished. They got the cash, and for whatever reason, the projects just didn't quite get built. And so that's a concern that I have, is in the timing of construction, and when do we, because all of these benefits, the concessions, the waivers, they're going to vest immediately when we approve, and you're off to the races. But we're looking for affordable housing, and it would be nice if maybe you get it all together and you all start at the same time. But I'd sure hate to see, the weak sister, kind of kill the process. That's my concern. And I don't know how we address that, but I think, given enough to staff, I think they can come up with stuff.
Would you like Todd to take a stab at just kind of walking you through the bond and
That's
tax
fine.
credits? Or
yeah,
I think
that's
that
fine.
might
That's
give you
fine.
some assurances for that.
That's
I would
fine.
also say that this is in projects that are developed this way, a typical way of dealing with that. The market rate is going to lead the way. Without the market rate, there's not the source of funding to be able to donate the land. And so I understand the concerns, but
I understand,
it's
and
an
I'm
economic driven,
no
yeah.
disrespect or
Understood.
anything like that. If you were standing here by yourself, and this is one large project that you were, proposing, and you're going to develop it completely out, and then when it's all finished and done, we all done at the same time, then you're going to turn it over to a third party. I mean, do whatever you want. We split the lot out and do whatever you want to do with it, but it's still affordable.
Sure. Todd, would you like to?
If you don't mind, Mr. Cottle, you want to go ahead and,
Yeah, we'll take a 10-minute recess.
It's fine.
and we'll come back and you can address the
That'd be great.
commission?
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
Okay, Todd, do you want to come up and finish?
Thank you. So as I mentioned before, so we've been building affordable housing, owning and operating for 30 years, specifically here in Orange County. We are active within the community, active within the county, active affordable housing, workforce housing developments right now, City of Yorba Linda, City of Buena Park, City of Orange, City of Irvine, City of Lake Forest. The primary mechanism for financing affordable housing is the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. And that is the funding source that is utilized on 95% of the affordable developments that you see coming forward, you read about in the newspaper, you see within the community. That funding source is a federal source that's allocated by the state. There are a certain amount of funding rounds per year that you can apply for those low-income housing tax credits. We've never had a development where we have not received an allocation of tax credits. It is a program, though, that you have to be ready in order to successfully complete for those tax credits. Readiness is entitlements, so what we're going through tonight. Also the subdivision of the property, something that can actually be built. There's certain milestones, performance milestones of when you have to put a shovel into the ground when you get those funding. We seek, we crave, it's our business, it's what we focus on is having properties and developments in partnership with cities in order to meet their RENA requirements, their housing goals, that will let us be in a position to compete for those tax credits. And so that's why it's critical to have the subdivision of the property, to have the entitlement approvals. As George had mentioned, though, the only way the affordable housing component is happening is because of the market rate component. And so the affordable housing needs the market rate component in order to be able to proceed, but needs to be ready in order to successfully compete for those tax credits. And that's something that we're looking forward to do. The opportunity to work in conjunction with the city, to come in a city that has in the past been able to produce affordable housing, but has been 30 years from having an opportunity to create that linkage, not only with existing residents, to create that linkage with the veterans community, with current employers and employees within the city. That's something that we're excited about, but we have to be in a position to be able to compete for that tax credit program. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any more, or should we open the public hearing? Are we good?
Just one last, and I don't know if this, in reading the letters in the EIR and I know a lot of concern regarding adequacy of the sewer systems, off-site, also stormwater runoff and drainage, et cetera. I don't know if staff, that's out of our jurisdiction. Explain that.
Yes and no. So the sewer, because it sits on the edge of the city, Los Alamitos and Seal Beach, the infrastructure currently right now is it's a Seal Beach sewer system. And so that is where the applicant has to work with the city of Seal Beach, right? But we do have conditions in there that states that that agreement has to be in place before there's a notice for construction.
All right. So before they can begin, they have to have all the, they have to have their sewer connection and any issues with adequacy of the sewer system or run, that has to all be obtained and approved ahead of time by Seal Beach. So if there's any issues for the residents, you know, I mean, I read, you know, through the complaints about sewage backing up in a, or not sewage, well, water coming up out of manholes, I think in one of the letters when it rains and this type of a thing. You know, those are issues that have to be addressed by the city of Seal Beach. And that's where the residents, your next step, you know, after here is, you know, to make sure that the city of Seal Beach follows through and on their end.
Yes, that's correct. So again, as a development, the development is in Los Alamitos, so we do want sewer for the potential residents of Los Alamitos.
Well, sure.
But because it sits on the border, and again, like I stated, the Seal Beach infrastructure, that's an agreement between them or a talk,
Right.
a chat between them and the city of Seal Beach.
Okay,
Okay?
that's it.
With the agreement with the Rossmore Los Alamitos Sewer District.
They're also involved as well, so all three entities are talking to each other.
Because all of this will back up and impact us as well. These are aging systems. We see that right now in Cerritos, where they're tearing everything up to put in updated infrastructure.
That's correct? Yeah,
So
the
that
LA
hasn't
Stanford.
been addressed yet, and these are concerns.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay, with that, we'll open up the public hearing. Shelley Sestorstik, you'd like to come up? Oh, and I'd like to remind you, we have a 5-minute time limit.
Okay, thank you.
You'll see lights over here, starting with green, yellow.
Okay.
With 1 minute left, red will say, you're done.
All right. Good evening. I'm Mayor of Seal Beach. I am a District 4 representative, College Park East, right across the street from the project. But tonight, my comments are my own. In my opinion, this EIR is not complete. There are too many unanswered questions, things not yet settled. It's not a good process to give the public 2,500 pages with 1 week to review. The same applies to the city of Seal Beach. LaSalle is asking Seal Beach to accept the EIR as environmental clearance for future actions. I believe that the Planning Commission should give our city time to do our part to review the studies, conclusions, and mitigations. The LaSalle project, but Seal Beach has major involvement. Our street, our right-of-way, possible stormwater runoff impacts, and asking for sewer service. We're presently in the process of a water and sewer rate study with lots of projects and projected cost. We also have to consider possible development of all of our RENA developments. And as somebody mentioned, bubbling manholes I've heard reported in 2 different areas, and I'm told that that is not good. AKM did a 2022 sewer study showing multiple segments over 50% DD now. This report says that that's not so bad, but I would like our city to be able to take a look at those comments and come to their own conclusions. My concerns, I wrote the draft EIR in the document, mostly related to safety. Traffic safety regarding ingress and egress for both Seal Beach and Los Alamitos residents. Student safety, school buses crossing, no school bus. We know Los Alamitos School District is going to attract students. There's going to be students there. There's no place for a school bus, so they're going to be crossing Lamson, which is a 45-mile-an-hour street where people are running yellow lights all the time. I'm very concerned. I don't want anybody to get killed. More foot traffic, also we crossing Lamson to the park or to park their cars. Parking impacts. Mr. Voigt told me that the apartments could park on the streets in the marketplace section, but of the parking spaces from the original plot, 55 spaces are in driveways, and those would not be available to apartment owners as far as I'm concerned. More traffic accidents due to speeding and unsafe turns. I was disappointed that the report says that there's really not that many accidents, but Lamson is known to have a lot of accidents and fatalities. I don't see any approvals from the JFDB listed in here. Maybe that's not environmental, but much of this project depends on them. The base approval of stormwater through the base property, otherwise it's in the street on Lamson, which could come to us. A 10-feet easement added to Arbor Park. The document says no movement of fences, but the parking lot plans show movement of the 7-foot fence with barbed wire, which marks the southern boundary of the military installation. Replacing this with an HOA fence with locking gates, I can't, the military would have to sign off on a lot of this. Even future Availability of Arbor Park is in question as the Army Corps may not extend the lease, as is LaSalle Youth Baseball is having problems right now. So therefore, there wouldn't be availability of soccer and maybe no need for the 10-foot section. I believe that the city should not be conceding, our city should not be conceding environmental clearance without our own studies and review. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Hill? Randy?
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Thank you for all your hard work and your volunteerism. I want to start by saying I don't support housing mandates. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what I support, and it doesn't matter what we think is best for our community. The state has determined how we'll have our housing plan. And we have a 769 unit plan, right? Seal Beach has 1,243. Where are those going to go? And how much are we going to have to say about that? Nobody really probably wants all these mandated housing. We all think we have a good quality of life. We enjoy our small town. And single-family residence, single-family zoning is gone with the wind currently. The Lamson project will provide almost 1/3 of LaSalle's total housing requirements. I think that's a pretty good win. These units will have very little impact on our community. There's no other space within our city that will impact our quality of life less than this project on Lamson. Lamson is a major corridor that has the capacity to hold a lot more traffic. Is there another street, is there another area in LaSalle that has that capacity? I don't think so. I'm not aware of it. We have a good partner. They could build more units, but they won't. They want quality for the residents and the people that are going to move in and the people that currently live here. They are providing more parking than is required. They could build taller buildings, but they wouldn't fit in. They are providing an easement to allow access to the park, and the homes facing Lamson will complement the College Park East style. So there's definitely a desire to do what's best for our community and not take full advantage of their opportunities that they could present us with. Failing to approve this project could impact our community more negatively. Another developer may not share the same concerns for the quality of life or pride we all share. And I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that when cities push back on housing, then the state can come in or other developers can come in, use a builder's remedy, and they can force us to totally disregard our building codes and our city codes. And you can certainly clarify that if I'm incorrect. Also, these are professionals who understand and will work through all of the intricacies involved, such as water, sewer, electrical, drainage. This is what they do, and they do it every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Senecal? Is Patty here?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Patty Senecal with College Park East. I would like to just state a couple things. Seal Beach has the same difficult challenges of meeting the state's one-size-fits-all mandates and the regional housing needs assessment. We have the common problem with Los Alamitos as being built out. We both struggle with being about 98% built out, with minimal open space and making our tasks extremely difficult. Seal Beach residents are impacted by this project. It's just 4 lanes across the street from us. We are impacted all the time by this project. However, we'd like to also, I just want to express some concerns. First of all, the meeting was publicly noticed. I did get a mailer to my house. It looked like junk mail. Threw it in a pile. Couldn't find it. All my neighbors were getting there, so finally found it because it was not even an identifiable envelope. So we have 2,500 pages and 1 week to read it. That is unacceptable for public policy to be made on such a project of this magnitude. 1 week is unacceptable. Has everybody up there had time to read 2,500 pages? I'm only up to 300 pages, and it's taken me quite a while. It's a technical document, and you have to read slow, find the attachments, go back, reread. So I think you're noticing giving us 1 week is unacceptable. We need more time. This project has been discussed for 3 years, and we get 1 week with 2,500 pages to review. So, again, a voluminous technical document. This is not meaningful public process and very disingenuous. So the concern for me is this is not a final EIR. This is still a draft. There is no will serve letter with Seal Beach regarding our sewer system. There is no connection for the Rossmore Sewer District on this project, so you are looking at Seal Beach. We need to have a discussion and open communications, and that needs to be started. We have our own RENA numbers, 1,200, and there's projects on Lamson for that as well. So there needs to be a cumulative conversation here between the two cities and cooperating with each other. We have flooding in our College Park East, our storm drains are aged, and our sewers are already impacted. We do have bubbling coming out of the manhole covers, and that's why we're extremely concerned about the sewers. There's contaminated soil on the project, arsenic, asbestos, and lead. Again, I'm sure it'll be remediated, but we need assurances. Public safety, as our Mayor Shelley mentioned, is a big concern, and to hear the traffic light has now been removed, and we're gonna send people across the street for the sidewalks, which is great to use the sidewalks, but they need a traffic light. That's 45 miles an hour on that street. I've seen 6 accidents in the last 6 months. I saw one almost yesterday. I'm coming out of Heather, going to Lamson. There's our school bus making the left. It had the light. Here comes the red light runner. Almost hits the school bus, and there was a bike rider right there. And it was just, 2 seconds different. That person would have probably been very seriously injured. So I would really urge the project to consider the traffic light. And again, the parking is a concern for us. So I wanted to mention on the traffic analysis, again, I only got through 300 pages. So the traffic analysis said it looked at the past 5 years. Well, half of those 5 years we were on COVID. In Lamson, there were no cars. I actually took pictures of it. It was so amazing to see no traffic. So out of the 5 years, 2-ish years, how would that even be considered in the number? It should have had a further look back. We have a lot of fatalities on that street, and come talk to our residents who've had accidents there. The sewer analysis in this FEIR did not take into account the capacity that Seal Beach will need for their housing projects for RENA. And therefore, we need to do a new sewer analysis that looks at what LoSal is proposing to come into our sewers and what Seal Beach has to meet for their RENA numbers, and how we can cooperate and see what we can do to work together. In closing, this FEIR is a rushed process, 2,500 pages in 1 week. That is very rushed. What the heck is the rush? You've been working on this for 3 years. So anyway, Seal Beach will have to do their own analysis, and I would just urge the Planning Commission. This is still a draft EIR. This is not final. We heard a ton of questions. What's the base up to? We've heard enough questions that this is not final and ready to go. And Seal Beach, I see in one of your footnotes.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
I'm done? I'm read? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. James Eubanks. James Eubanks.
Go on.
I'll put that one behind. Brian Bell.
Hello, committee, commissioners. Thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to speak in support of the veteran preference and the low-income housing. My name is Brian Bell. I was raised in Los Alamitos. I'm a current resident of Los Alamitos, and I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. During that time, I was stationed at Seal Beach Naval Weapons Station and also at the Los Alamitos base right there. During my time there, it was very difficult as a soldier, as a Marine, to find housing around here. I couldn't afford to live here, so I had to drive in. I couldn't afford anywhere. This low-income veteran preference will be huge. On a daily basis, I deal with Marines. I'm also the commander of the American Legion in Los Alamitos. On a daily basis, we deal with Marines, military members, soldiers, sailors from the base that can't afford to live in our neighborhood. And this will be a very good project, and having the 25% designated to veteran preference would be huge for the community and allow some of these soldiers and sailors serving our community to stay in our community. So I want to thank you guys all and appreciate your consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. Lisa Landry. Oh, sorry.
It does look like Landry.
Hello, my name is Lisa Landau. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Seal Beach, and these opinions are of my own. I'd like to thank Mr. Boyd and Mr. Connell for their overview, but I do find it troublesome that they didn't mention Seal Beach. This project has a huge impact on the residents of Seal Beach. Seal Beach understands the difficult challenge of meeting the state's unfounded housing mandates and the regional housing needs assessment, the RHNA numbers. Trust me, we know. Seal Beach was assigned 1,243 units. Our city, like Los Alamitos, is mostly built out with minimal open space, making the task extremely challenging. Our cities and communities are linked through schools, our schools, sports, events, shopping districts, and public services. Our kids go to school together. We do want to have a collaborative relationship between our neighboring cities. So a few concerns. You've already heard some of these, but I'm going to repeat them. The Planning Commission was publicly noticed, but with 2,500 pages to the FEIR, how can you expect the public or our Seal Beach staff to be able to read and understand within 1 week of this meeting? It's a challenge. To my knowledge, Seal Beach has not been asked for a will serve letter for our sewer system. Our council, our committees, Environmental Quality Control Board, or Planning Commission have not reviewed this project for stormwater management, especially in light of the flooding on Lamson and surrounding areas. The sewer analysis in the FEIR did not take into account the capacity needs of Seal Beach for our housing required projects for RHNA. In closing, the FEIR is being rushed, and having a public meeting within 1 week of having 2,500 pages available to review is not enough time. The FEIR lacks an agreement from Seal Beach to allow sewer connections. The sewer and stormwater situations require analysis by Seal Beach staff, so our council will have a full picture of the needs of both cities. It is likely that a new study of the sewer capacity is necessary to accommodate Seal Beach RHNA projects and what capacity is available for Los Alamitos. I would suggest our two city managers discuss a collaborative approach to discuss the projects and impacts to Seal Beach residents, especially in College Park East. As presented here tonight, there are many critical questions that still need to be studied and answered. I would like to add one more question to this. Ask yourselves, will this effect have a quality, what will this effect have on the quality of life of your friends and neighbors in College Park East? Thank you.
Tony Lewis. Tony Lewis. No worries.
Hello, I'm Tony Lewis. I live in Los Alamitos since 2011, and I just want to talk out in support of the affordable housing for veterans. As a veteran myself and a member of American Legion Post 716 here in Los Alamitos, I would say I had an income, due to a layoff, I had an income hit. So if I were moving here now, I wouldn't be able to afford it. I'm just fortunate enough that where I live now, it's family owned. I've been there so long, so I'm grandfathered in. But I've had the opportunity to raise my son here. He's just graduated from Los Al High, And I think that I would like to see the opportunity to other veterans like myself with the affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Clark.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Max. I do not live here now, but I grew up here, literally about 500 feet that way. I grew up playing AYSO soccer at Arbor Park. I went to Cub Scout camp at Arbor Park. I helped my mom babysit in College Park East. I've golfed at Old Ranch with my dad 100 times. I played Little League at the base. I've run the Los Al 10K. My dad has run the Los Al 10K. I've gone on rounds with my dad at Los Alamitos Hospital when he was a doctor there. I have visited my dad at Los Alamitos Hospital when he was a patient there. I grew up here. I do not live here. I cannot afford to live here. Now, the issues about noise, traffic, zoning, and pollution, there is a lot to think about. I think there are lots of easy wins. I think placing permanent bollards along the bike lane down Lamson would be fantastic. And personally, I'm a little disappointed that the development doesn't include any mixed use, no retail. If people can shop where they live or near where they live, you would have less traffic. But I don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. And so, to be frank, I think one of the core issues is the concern of surrounding property values and the way a new development affects that. And there's, in my view, only one real truth beneath that. We can either force each new human to continue homesteading out into the Mojave Desert, or we can learn to live together. None of us created the earth that Los Alamitos sits on. I think the idea of a land value tax is essential to sharing the land. And while we can't do that tonight, we can talk about using our land here better. We can look at Arbor Park and Lamson and worry about a million different things, but fundamentally, we are living on a monopoly board. The players who landed on Orange County first, they're winning. The players who later were able to buy a house and pass Prop 13, they're surviving, but the next generation of players is trapped. Building more housing is one thing that will help. Thank you.
Thank you. John Lang. John Lang. Behind. Ann Villagut.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Ann Villagut, and I live in College Park East. And thank you for having me tonight, but I just want to voice some concerns. I know some things have been mentioned before, and the main thing is the traffic. I own 2 dogs, and I take them across Lamson and take them to Arbor Park, but you know, I see that the traffic speeds on Lamson. We call it the Lamson Freeway. So my concern is that, you know, that this project seems like it's a little bit rushed, and that you really need to consider the traffic and the pedestrians and how people are gonna get through from the new development to Heather Park and to parking in our areas. I also feel that it was very, very hard to review the complete document because it's so large, and we need more time, so please consider that. And the other thing I want to mention is I work with affordable housing, and I know it takes time to qualify somebody to purchase, but also to have them get ready to lease or to become a renter. So also consider that, and consider how long it's going to take to build the affordable units, since they're not going to be together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tony Close.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Tony Close. Along with being a local Los Alamitos resident for over 20 years, having my wife live in Los Alamitos all of her life, raising both of our children in Los Alamitos, I also run a home mortgage lending business in Los Alamitos by the name of CLS Financial. Tonight, I feel like highlighting the benefits of high-end housing stock in this community and the broader economic impact it would have would be a powerful way to show how high-end housing can positively influence various industries. Here are a few of the benefits that I see. Starting with increased property values. The benefit of high-end housing raises overall property values in the area, benefiting homeowners with increased equity. The economic impact of that is increased property taxes that can fund community improvements such as parks, schools, and infrastructure. Second is boost of local employment. High-end benefits of high-end home construction and renovations creates jobs in construction, architecture, interior design, and landscaping arenas. The economic impact of that is the local businesses such as contractors, real estate agents, lenders like myself, and tradespeople would see a surge in demand. Third is increased in demand of local services. High-end homeowners often require premium services such as maintenance, security, cleaning services. The economic impact of that is small businesses could benefit from the increased revenue and expand their operations. Next is the local retail and hospitality impact. The benefit of high-end housing attracts affluent residents who spend more on luxury goods, dining, and entertainment. The economic impact of that, restaurants, boutiques, local retailers can experience growth leading to job creation and higher local tax revenues. Fifth is the expansion of financial services. So buyers of high-end homes usually require specialized financial services such as mortgage brokers, investment advisors, and wealth managers. The economic impact of that is the growth of financial services and related industries would create higher paying jobs in the community. Next is the tourism and local development. Benefit of high-end housing areas often attract tourists and investors interested in lifestyles, architect, and real estate. That'll increase tourism spending that benefits the local economy through hotels, restaurants, and entertainment venues. Finally, the infrastructure of public services investment. The benefit of increased property values and tax revenues lead to better roads, schools, and public services benefiting the entire community. The economic impact of that is we have a more robust infrastructure supporting further economic growth and attracting more business and residents. Thank you so much for the time. Allow me to share.
Thank you. Scott F.
Thank you, committee, for letting me speak today. I just want to speak to the Los Al Unified School District. This project would benefit the school district not only with the development fees, but also with the increased likelihood of having more families with more children to help fill our schools, and also with the affordable housing could help our staff actually live in the community that they serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Bamberg.
My name is Ken Bamberg, and I live in College Park East, right across the street from this project. I grew up in Los Alamitos and have lived in this neighborhood for the past 45 years, so I know firsthand how lucky we are to live here. I was initially skeptical about the project because I'm happy with the way things are in our community. However, based on what I've learned and what I believe our community needs, I very much support this project. The biggest reason I support the project is because it represents a more affordable housing solution for everyone, including the people we want to live nearby. For me, I need to come up with a solution and move my mom and mother-in-law closer to our family in College Park in the next few years because Leisure World isn't an option. I also have 4 adult kids who aspire to own a home in this neighborhood someday. Today, unfortunately, there isn't enough affordable housing in close proximity to our community that gives family members like mine a reasonable chance to live nearby. One thing that stood out to me about this project is some of the units are being designed for people who need and provide assistance, including teachers, emergency personnel, veterans, and those holding down service jobs in our community. This leads me to think that this new neighborhood is being built by people who are looking to do the right thing for the community by attracting the right type of residents. Overall, I see the project as a much-needed solution to support our fast-growing community more than anything else. I know there are concerns, especially from my College Park East neighbors. But if we end up driving a little slower and maybe more carefully on Lamson because there are more cars and more kids on the road, that might end up being a good thing. And regarding the parking concern, here's my thought. Now is a good time for College Park residents to come up with a plan to turn College Park into a gated community, like Heron Point, which would nullify any parking issues or remaining concerns about this project and increase the value of our homes as well. I know this isn't the audience to talk about this tonight, but it's a solution worth considering for the folks in College Park. Please take this into consideration, do what's best for our community, and vote to recommend to the City Council approval of the Lamson Park Place project. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Campbell? Patty Campbell, oh, there you are.
Patty Campbell, College Park East. I'm also on the Seal Beach Planning Commission, so I know the task in front of you. 14 years. Okay, by state law, the environmental process has to be independent of the developer, which means the developer cannot select the EIR consultant, which is what happened in this case. This provides a layer of protection for the public so that developers don't push projects through. So right here, you have a big problem if state law has been violated. Now, Seal Beach is not bound by the environmental analysis of this project. This consultant is not of our choosing. If you want to tie into our sewer system, we have the right to our own environmental analysis. We have to evaluate not only our own requirements, but those coming down the road for our own RENA projects. And our system is not all that great. Tying into our system is not a ministerial action which could be approved by staff, but it's a discretionary action which requires a vote of the City Council. And our council has not voted on it, nor has our Planning Commission, nor our Environmental Quality Control Board. Now, when we get those horrible rains and our streets flood, our sewer manholes bubble up. That means we're getting raw sewage on our streets. Now we have a public health issue. So we don't need more sewage from another project bubbling up into our streets. And the stormwater runoff will also end up going down Lamson and then down Heather, because it said the excess water will go out onto Lamson Avenue. But don't worry, it'll be contained by the center divider until it gets to Heather Street. Then there's no center divider, so the cars can turn. It'll go down Heather, down Ironwood. We already have a study group going in Seal Beach to deal with this. Now, if this project goes forward, it will be at the expense of the Seal Beach taxpayers. Your excess parking will end up on our streets because the parking in this project is insufficient. You can't park on Lamson, and you can't park at Arbor Park because it's closed at night by order of the base. And the base property line fence cannot be arbitrarily and capriciously moved. The government just doesn't do that. So that fence is their property line, and it stays, okay? The project does not have adequate park, so the kids are going to end up at Heather Park, which means they got to cross Lamson. There's no place for a bus stop, which means the kids are going to end up getting the bus at Heather Park, which means they got to cross Lamson. Now, crossing Lamson is incredibly dangerous. When they discuss the accidents at Candleberry and Lamson, Rose and Lamson, Tulip and Lamson, they didn't discuss Heather. That's where all the accidents are, okay? So you've got people are going to be exiting the development. They're going to have to go right. If they want to go left, they got to go right and make a U-turn and come back. And we already have a problem from the dog park people making a U-turn. The traffic management has not yet been discussed by our city. More parking? Okay. It's a lovely project, but it's too dense. You want more parking? Delete the northernmost apartment and use the land for parking. Also, make those buildings for seniors, and it will lessen the demand for parking because seniors don't have kids. If they do, they're all grown, and they're not there. Remember, there are no buses that run along Lamson, so everyone there will have to have a car, making the demand for parking even greater. You need to recognize the rights of Seal Beach and ask staff to bring back the FEIR when a written will serve letter for municipal services is issued from the city of Seal Beach. And after listening to some of the comments, I have a couple of questions. Is this project going to be walled in along Lamson Avenue? Or is it just going to be open? because,
We can't, this isn't a back and forth discussion, we can just.
well, all right,
listen to
I'm
We can't
asking you,
answer your
okay.
question.
From Valley View to Seal Beach Boulevard, the residential units are all behind a wall. And from the looks of this project, there's no wall. And to have kids just have immediate access running out until Lamson is crazy, okay? Arbor Park, our city has, we negotiated with the base and the Army Corps of Engineers back in the 80s for that park. It says that the city of Los Al had nothing to do with it. We developed it, we've maintained it, and we created the dog park, which is one of the best
Sorry,
parks.
ma'am, the time has expired, so if you
Okay.
want one more comment, that's fine, but
Okay. Dead Man's Curve on Lamson Avenue, that shows you how dangerous that street is.
thank you.
So I like the project from the beauty look of it, but it's too dense. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley Nichols? Ashley Nichols?
Good evening. So yeah, my name is Ashley Nichols and I live in the Highlands neighbourhood of Los Alamitos. I just noticed your banner here. It says shop local, eat local, play local, stay local, support local, but it should be also live local if you can afford it. I've lived in this area for 10 years and over this time I've noticed the lack of new housing units being built in Los Alamitos when compared to other communities around us like Cyprus. It's the old supply and demand argument. Without the supply, the demand rises, which forces up rents and housing prices. In my opinion, Los Alamitos needs more high-quality housing units, ones that are well thought out and well designed. At some stage, my children will leave home to start families of their own. But where would that be? I hope that at least there is an opportunity in our local area for them to be able to afford a home of their own, not miles and miles away from the family and support. Our city needs this project. We need opportunities for housing for our families and for those financially less fortunate or just starting out who are the key to the fabric of our community. I'm talking about people like restaurant workers, the grocery store clerk, the teacher, and the police officer. There are many examples. Most of these jobs do not make an income that allows them to afford the rents being charged today for apartment units in our city. The affordable units being provided with the Lamson Park Place project provide an opportunity for people who hold these jobs to be able to afford to live and work in our city in a brand new state-of-the-art apartment community. I ask that you carefully and fully consider the facts about this project. The review and analysis done for this project has been extensive, and it is my understanding that the analysis has been much more than any other project considered by Los Alamitos, Seal Beach or Rossmore. In addition, this project also helps our city comply with a significant amount of the state-mandated housing we are obligated to plan for. For these reasons, I would like to see the Lamson Park Place project proceed, and I encourage you to do the right thing and cast a vote based upon facts and what is best for the city and the residents of Los Alamitos. Please vote to recommend the City Council approve the Lamson Park Place project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Janelle Sagan?
Hi, good evening. My name is Janelle Sagan. I live in the Highlands in Los Alamitos, 20-plus year resident of Los Al, and my husband has lived here his entire life. We've raised 2 kids here that have happily gone through the school district. So I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts with regards to the Lamson project. Most of my views here tonight are going to be based on the impact the project will have on our current housing inventory, which everybody knows is considerably low. The jobs that depend on high-quality housing, that includes affordable housing, in and around our community. It's been proven time and time again, not only throughout California, but throughout the nation, that new housing communities add to the value of surrounding properties. I've been a mortgage lender here in this community, along with the surrounding communities, for 27 years, so I can attest to not only the housing shortage, but the impact new communities have for hopeful home buyers and renters that are looking to move to Los Alamitos. This project will provide a boost to all professionals who work in the real estate services. The additional housing not only benefits myself, but other mortgage lenders like Mr. Close over there. Not to mention our local escrow companies, our local title companies, home inspectors, termite companies, local appraisers, contractors, architects, and of course, our local real estate professionals. This project not only provides the city of Los Alamitos additional tax revenue, but continuous tax revenue that helps our police and fire departments continue to operate at a high level, which as a Los Al resident, I expect. Additionally, and I'm sure you are aware, our school district is experiencing major cuts in budget, of which this project stands to generate millions of dollars in fees to not only the city of Los Alamitos, but also to our school districts that are in major need of these funds. Los Alamitos School District, and this is a very long time trend that's been going on, is people outside the community will send their kids to school in Los Alamitos. While those kids, I like to call them butts in seats, while the butts in seats help the district, they don't have a significant impact on the city. If we can bridge the gap, or at least help bridge the gap to help these people not just send their kids to school here, but actually live here, we can bridge the gap on that to not only help the district, but also help the city. Lastly, but not insignificantly, this project will bring more customers to our local businesses, local shops, restaurants, which is exactly what that sign that we see all along the boulevard says that we want to promote. So in closing, I believe this project is something that the city of Los Al can be proud of once finished. So I urge you to vote to recommend the approval of the project to the city council. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Jim Beery?
Hi, it's Jim Byrie, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
I used to work for city of Seal Beach. I live in Seal Beach. I'm on the ad hoc storm drain committee because our storm drains are a big problem for us, so we're trying to address that. And I did have an opportunity to review the document, and one of my concerns, which I'll point out, is it ready? And I don't think it is. And I'll tell you why, because when reading the document, first of all, it's been a moving target. We get one thing, we're going to do this. All right, that's what we're going to do. Then we get, no, we're not going to do it that way. We get a comment that we're going to have the Rossmore, Los Alamitos Sewer District. They're going to provide sewers, so don't worry about the city. They're going to provide it. No, that's too expensive. We're not going to do that. Never mind. So then they say we're going to have the water system. Okay, the city will provide that. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to have Golden State Water. Okay, all right, so I got that one lined up. But like I say, some of these things have been lined up. Then when I wrote my comments in, I said, hey, have you folks talked to the folks at the Los Alamitos Joint Forces Training Base? And the answer was no. And interestingly enough, when they write their conditions or what's going to happen, they say, here's our preferred alternative, preferred stormwater drainage. And then there's another one called alternate stormwater drainage. Because the preferred one says we're going to tie into or use an existing connection with the Joint Forces Training Base, which I think this is not a bad idea, by the way. No. But the next one says, well, but if we can't, which means if in other words we can't do that, then we're going to do something else, and the something else is end up potentially getting into our storm drain system, and that's not what I was opposing or supporting. I was hoping they would get with their first option, but if they don't have that discussion, we shouldn't have a document that says, well, this or this, item A or item B. Which one is it going to be? And that's because you're going to approve a document when it's A or B. okay? On the sewer, and now it looks like we're going to provide the sewer, but we haven't figured that one out yet either, okay? They say they figured our system out, but that's not us figuring it out. And that's us having to take their sewage, okay? So and I don't say that won't happen, but we got to make it, see if how to make it happen, how to make it work. They talk about moving, or talk about this 10-foot thing, and that's another thing, the 10-foot thing. I said, okay, when I first heard about it, I was at a meeting that we had, a scoping meeting a while back, and they said, oh yeah, we're gonna give 10 more feet in the back here. We're gonna dedicate it to the city of Los Alamitos. I said, well, you can't dedicate that to the city of Los Alamitos. That doesn't work. And I says, okay, well, what, and then by the way, okay, and then in my comments, I said, oh, by the way, you guys figured out that 10-foot thing? Have you talked to the base about that? Oh, by the way, you can't touch that fence too, by the way. That's that's the boundary. You can't touch that. And you can't also have little gates that let your residents go in and out of the base. That can't happen. That's not going to happen. And also, it doesn't go, it's closed at night. So there's a lot of things that operationally has to happen here. But again, the document's kind of like, well, we could do this or that. And they really didn't deal with some of the issues that your plan commissioner was dealing with, is answered the question, have you talked to them? And get that sorted out. This shouldn't be A, B, or, well, we'll do this or that. And it shouldn't be on the plans that we've got this 10-foot strip if it hasn't been figured out yet. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Frank Marchese. Frank Marchese.
Good evening, staff, and thank you for all this here tonight. I didn't prepare anything to say here. I just came here to support my wife and support our city. And we're all here because we have a governor in the state who wants more buildings everywhere. And unfortunately, I'm from a development family. My father, over here where the racetrack is, the buildings are everywhere. They're adding more buildings. Catella is overloaded. Cars everywhere. Everybody wishes it was 1975. It's not 1975 anymore. You know, today it's 2024. You got a lot of people here. You got a governor who wants a lot more buildings, everybody's front yard. One side doesn't want it. We're dealing with buildings galore up on this side of Los Alamitos. We're going to get more buildings in Los Alamitos, right over here at the racetrack, the horse track. Someday when the old man passes away, there'll be 1 million homes on the property. It's an unfortunate thing that you're going to have it in your front yard in Lamson, but it's good for the city. I wish it was 1975 still like you guys do down there, where you don't have all these buildings in your face, but it's not 1975 anymore. I'm a native of the city, of this area. I remember when a lot of this was open fields. My parents with the Proposition 13, I own 3 houses. It's 1975 anymore. All my family, my kids have left this area because they can't afford anything. They're renting. They'll never be able to afford anything around here because everything's $1 million for an old shack. So I'm just saying, this is the reality of today. We all need to you got a governor who wants this, and we're all going to have to do our part. Thank you.
Thank you. Enia Ostrich?
Is that her husband?
Or Enia, sorry.
Hi, I'm Anea Ostrich, and thank you, commissioners and staff. I just wanted to say that let's think about this. Let's think about it hard, and I'm glad that the comments that have been made by each commissioner that spoke tonight, thank you for that, that you're thinking about it. But coordination that was mentioned by the developer, as well as the affordable housing person tonight, there's a bigger commitment that needs more of a collaborative effort needed. And it's because of the traffic. It's because of all these other things. The person that just mentioned now, in relation to you know, there's a lot of traffic everywhere. That's true, but we don't have to add to it by not working together. Think about it, plan for it, coordination of all cities, because everyone needs to know. But specifically, of course, Seal Beach and Los Alamitos, please get together, because that's not happening. And that's what I got out of tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Hector Huffington?
Good evening. Thank you for your service. I think they presented a great plan, but I think there was a lot of false data in the plan. So they're considering Arbor Park as green, but that's federal property. So now they have control over federal future concerns of what they're going to do. So then we're looking at sewer systems. Hey, great in your plan, but hey, what about Seal Beach? Did anybody ask them? Doesn't seem like it. So to vote on something, a plan that's based on assumptions is not a good decision for everyone, either Seal Beach or Los Alamitos. So Seal Beach and Los Alamitos have a symbiotic relationship that this would just strain it. I really do believe that. We understand about the housing and development. I don't think that's really the concern. The concern is the density. I understand they're just overbuilding when they don't really need to. I don't think we're opposing the low-income housing, the developments. I just think when you have a huge line of townhomes and the thing of trash, put it in your garage. They don't know that there is a rodent problem all on that field side. So when they have a big rodent issue, then they're gone. The HOA, they're gone. The developer's gone. Well, he's going to have the low-income housing, but it's going to be the people's problem. And the people problem is your problem because you're the representatives. Same with Seal Beach. So it just really, of what the lady said earlier, is about just really working together to figure this out. And let's not rely on false data. They had a lot of good data, but they had also a lot of false data. They were tweaking the numbers. And again, you don't give a report. If it's such a great plan, why do you wait 7 days before to give a 2,500-page report? If it was a great plan, you would have gave that 4 or 5 months ago. But it's when someone does that, I look at it as they're hiding the ball. They don't want you to read it. There's no way your team was able to read it. And they want to make a conclusion and decision based on you read 10 pages here and there of each topic. It just doesn't make sense. So again, hopefully we can work together, Seal Beach and Los Alamitos. I think you should be fair to us. We're a community. Seal Beach and Los Alamitos has always been a community. I've been here for 25 years, and I've seen the changes just like some of you have seen the change. But in reality, let's not be drastic about our change. Let's not make it so dense that there's so many people in that community that it changed the relationship between Seal Beach and Los Alamitos. So let's really look at the future together of where this plan is going to take us. Right now, everything's shiny and new, but I'm really thinking 15, 20 years down the line, when the developer's gone, we're left holding the bag. If they decide to sell the low-income housing, they can sell it, and who knows what the new devil's going to be. So let's just really think it out. Let's just really work together, and let's really understand both sides of the development. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maggie Marchese? Maggie Marchese?
Hi there. I'm a resident of Los Alamitos, and I'm coming here to support the Lamson project. And I know, like my husband mentioned, we're all kind of stuck with these rules. I would prefer no housing there, honestly. I would prefer more green, more space, more parking, no one parking on the street, actually. But that isn't our reality. We are faced with some, I think, pretty ridiculous housing numbers for our community this size. Well, given how much land we actually have that's buildable. So I support the project. I'm sorry about, it's like our neighbors. It's an unfortunate situation that we're all in, and we just have to think about Los Al. I think we're never going to make Seal Beach residents happy. The only thing that's really going to work for Seal Beach is just not to build anything there. But that isn't a reality for us. We have a lot of traffic on Catella. We have hundreds, I don't know how many kids cross Catella every day from Apartment Row to LAE, McCullough, or the high school. Catella is more crowded than Lamson. Kids aren't dying. They're not getting hit by a car. So I'd like someone's suggestion to like maybe possibly slow down if you live in Seal Beach. And the other thing too is we need housing for low-income people. They're not bad people. I would love to see some housing there for low-income seniors. We forgot about them there. There's so many of them. And it breaks my heart that they don't have, you know, affordable housing. I'm happy for the veteran piece of it. I think that's awesome. And then also to remember that the low-income people are not criminals. They're just regular working people like us. And they're teachers. My son is a teacher. He couldn't afford a one-bedroom here in Los Alamitos today. So he has roommates, lots of them. And I do kind of agree with just on the little project here about the trash can situation. I do think it's a little kind of tight, you know, not to have a little bit more there. So, you know, it's a beautiful development. Just remember our community, the people who live here, Apartment Row, remember us. You know, we can't make everyone happy, but you're here for our city, for our residents, so thank you.
Thank you. Mark Mahalko?
So I don't have any prepared remarks, but I've been listening intently. I see the Planning Commission is doing its job. I heard some very, very good concerns that were brought up, like the trash, like the parking, maybe perhaps not even enough low-income housing. So I guess I wanted to talk about the process. I saw the process on the board, but I don't think you guys are backed into a corner. I think you don't have to either approve it or not approve it. I think you can ask for more time. More time. I mean, I heard some different things. I heard the applicant talk about using the fence to get to Arbor Park. And then I also heard other people saying the base owns that fence and they're not going to be able to do that. Sounds like you could use a little more time to investigate that. Perhaps, actually talk to the base and get some definitive answer about that. I heard the other stuff about coordinating with Seal Beach. Give yourself more time. Do the right thing. You're the Planning Commission, and I see you guys are doing your job, but I think there is a space in the process to say, we don't have to approve it tonight. We can say, we need some more time, we need to talk to the developer, we need to look at more plans, I think you guys can do that. One of the things that was kind of mentioned that I was concerned about is, and honestly, I have not looked at the plan itself to see how many parking spaces there are for residents, but what about visitors? I know, I have people come and visit my house. Now, they can park on the street in front of my house, which is great. But I worry about all the people there, where are their visitors going to come? Or what if they have an extra car in their family? There's no spaces for that. There's nothing planned. Now, if the access to Arbor Park is there, perhaps they'll all park in Arbor Park. But I think that's going to do something to Arbor Park, because I think it's going to be taken up by all the overflow from this area. They're all going to be parking in Arbor Park. So that was one of my concerns too. So I guess I just want to leave you guys to think, don't feel like you're backed into a corner. Take some time, ask more questions. Maybe ask, that additional communication be done, collaboration with City of Seal Beach, Take your time, do a good job. That's it.
Thank you. Renee Lloyd. Renee Lloyd.
Hi there. I'm a resident of College Park East, and I work in the city of Los Alamitos. And I think that everyone here has brought up good points, both pro and against, things that need to be considered. And the only thing I was bringing up was consideration of the redwood trees that are on the southwest corner of the lot. If the plan is developed as shown here, there would be an apartment building right on that site. And it seems a shame to get rid of those three 50-year-old redwoods that were planted most likely by the director of Swirl who they owned and designed the building. And I know that the developer has said that they have researched all the documentation to see why those trees are there. But the City of Seal Beach, the Joint Forces Base, the City of Los Alamitos, they were not responsible for the planting of those trees. It was Swirl, and at the director's discretion that they were planted there, according to the widow of the director and according to West Ed. The only way you could have any documentation about the source of those trees would be to go to West Ed itself and have them research back through their records to about 1972, 1973, when the building was built. I have been in correspondence with Dave Williams at NASA, and he has said that a lot of trees that were, in quotes, moon trees, were distributed throughout government offices, and that was land that was owned by the U.S. Department of Education. And it is very conceivable that those could have been, in quotes, the moon trees. I know that the developer says all their research shows that that was not the case. But according to Dave Williams, who is in charge of that project at NASA, he said that there were no good records, only they were very incomplete. So it seems a shame to me that those trees could have historical, cultural significance, and just if the plan was adjusted to make use of that area as an open space or green in order to preserve those trees, it would be a great consideration both to the community, the greater community, both of Los Alamitos and Seal Beach. They're beautiful. It would be nice if they were able to continue there and give, just to benefit the community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth, either Hansberg or Harrisburg?
Hi, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Elizabeth Hansberg. I'm with the housing advocacy organization, People for Housing. So you can imagine that I am here this evening to support this proposed housing development. There's been a lot of points raised. Clearly, there's some discussion that needs to happen about how these folks are going to flush their toilets. But at the end of the day, these are solvable problems. These are very solvable problems. And the urgency that we are experiencing because of the housing shortage, causing rents to rise, causing people to not be able to buy their first homes, having to move to Texas, having to scramble and live in doubled up conditions so that they can make rent. While you're studying and trying to please the neighbors or not please the neighbors, whichever you decide to do, people like Ashley, his children are growing up. They're moving away. We live in finite times. And so I would like to encourage you to solve the problems that need to be solved so everybody can flush their toilets and feel good about it. But do it with a sense of urgency, and don't discount what Max said when he said, I grew up here, I played AYSO soccer, and I can't afford to live here, because he wants to. Thanks.
Thank you. Donna Byrie, I should know this because I mispronounced your husband when your husband came up.
Thank you. You did pronounce it correctly.
Thank you.
I'm commenting on the Air Land Use Commissions. Air Land Use Commission's purpose is to protect people from airports and airports from people. This parcel of land was developed in the mid-1970s. If residential would have been permitted, it would have been put in then instead of the office building. The land was not suitable for housing then. The runways have not moved, so the parcel is still too close, especially as noise is concerned. Will those residential units that are being built have sound attenuated windows and air conditioning, noise insulation in the walls and attics, both the houses and apartments? Because if they don't, they will have to open their windows, and at that point, the noise from the base is even louder. These are all very important issues and must be required of the developer. You need to require a disclosure agreement for public health and safety in all sales and escrow documents indicating the presence of the airport and that there are noise issues. You should also show that the Airport Land Use Commission found the project inconsistent and why, and that it was overruled by your city. The new residents have a right to know that, and this disclosure must run with the land. Thank you.
Thank you. John Lang, I called him before and he didn't come up, and James Eubanks. Okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to come up and speak? Yes. Okay.
You can come up.
You can come up.
Ma'am,
You can come
ma'am.
up. Yeah. No.
They
I
left.
think they left already.
They're like me getting a headache because this is going so long. First of all, I want to thank you for considering the paperwork that you were given. 2,500 pages is way too much for anybody to consume in this short of a period of time. But I do appreciate, I think is it Mr. DeBold? Is that your name? Your comments about your concerns about the trash and the parking on these multifamily housing units. That's extremely important to maintain them and have a high quality of life. You you see with some of these units, I'm familiar with them for a couple of years, the lack of management on some of these tax subsidized housing. They don't have enough money to bring in sufficient management. They don't pick up the trash frequently. And if these units are going to be rental as opposed to sold units, people move in and out of them frequently. And what you find is beds, old toilets, furniture, things that they don't want to move to wherever they're moving winds up in the alley behind the house. So really taking seriously having adequate dump sites and frequent pickups is important, and that should be part of a disposition and development agreement. The one thing that worked in a community that I was in is we made the city a part of the disposition and development agreement, so they had a right to enforce the rules once the property was sold and the owner went someplace else. It's really helpful when you can come in use your city staff for code enforcement to make sure that the quality of the property remains the same. There was a comment about leaving the trash cans outside. I've noticed this in the last couple of years with all the freeways that have been remodeled. There's a lot of rats running around here. So you do need to think about not having trash laying around anywhere, because it's a health problem if you don't provide for adequate trash pickup in any of your housing units. As an older citizen, I would not push my trash can 200 feet to get to a site to pick it up. I think that's just too far. I think the plans, as the Planning Commission, you can look at the drawings and you can say, where can we put more trash drop-off sites for people that need to not schlep stuff 200 feet to get to a disposal site. That's a very smart thing to do for a planning commissioner. You can figure this one out. I wish you would have considered the affordable housing issue as Lamson was originally contemplated. Back in 2021, when this property was purchased, the original concept was far more affordable housing on this site. But behind closed doors, the developers negotiated a different deal. They negotiated only 77 low-income housing, and the rest was going to be above moderate housing. So what I would like for you to think about, as something that I've seen in another community, is we want to support teachers, police officers, firemen, people who want to stay and work in the community. And what our city did was they created a developer impact fee that went into a fund. And then when we found a police officer, an individual that wanted to buy into the unit, we gave them a $50,000 loan that was discharged over a period of time as long as they lived in the house. That was their down payment. It allowed them to get into the property in the community. So we brought in the police officers and teachers and our city staff who wanted to live in the community by helping them financially. If they stayed there for 5 years, that was forgiven. If they sold before that period of time, the escrow reimbursed our fund, and then we were allowed to use that same type of money for the next person that wanted to buy the house within that area. So I'd like, as a planning commission, you can think about the business aspect of this and maybe help people within your community who work here within your schools to, instead of just rent and not acquire equity in a home, as help them buy something. Okay, I did have just one question. Who does Bill Halligan work for? Is he with the city of Los Alamitos, or is he a paid consultant?
Ma'am, we can't answer questions. This isn't a back and forth, and your time is up.
Okay, so can I ask somebody later?
You
Sure.
go
It's
ahead
not-
and
it's not-
go ahead and call the city manager at any time, ma'am.
Okay, it's not going to be a secret then. Okay,
Never
thank you.
is.
Uh-oh, I made a mess.
Is there anybody else who would like to come up and speak? Okay, seeing nobody else come up, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Want to start with Art again?
Getting late. I would just, it's good to get the input from the public. I mean, it's good to hear. I guess I would just make a comment that with respect to collaboration, the Seal Beach, et cetera, that, and I'm sure our staff, you guys communicate, but in the end, this is just my perspective now. If this project is approved, or when it's approved, whatever, there is a condition. I mean, it's obvious that they have to have a sewer connection. It's obvious that they have to deal with the storm runoff water, et cetera, that impacts Seal Beach. Ultimately, it's up to the city of Seal Beach to assess the sewer lines, to, if they have to do their own study, they do their own study, because it's all in there. And ultimately, they have to have this development will have to have the ability to hook up to the system. That's totally up to the city of Seal Beach, whether they issue that will serve or provide that connection. So basically, we can take it to a point, but in the end, I do believe nothing will be built unless they have a way to discharge the sewage into the lines. And that's up to the city of Seal Beach. So I would just say that following whatever happens here on this project, the next step is for the residents of Seal Beach to go to their meetings and advocate for whatever their analysis is and do it that way. That's what I have to say now, and
Wendy?
yeah.
First off, I appreciate the wide variety of comments, no matter how we look at it. I do appreciate that. And I think, first off, yes, a couple of days to go through this type of a project with this many pages is not appropriate. We need more time. That's just bottom line. The things that concern me, the base. The base, over the last several months, I've read several articles about various installations are expanding somewhat because we downsized in our country for a bit, and now they're going the other direction because of concerns. So I don't know what the base holds in its future, but I do know I did speak with somebody at the base, and I asked them what their thoughts were on the project, and it was, well, not at the way it stands. So they're not happy. And they mentioned maybe they ought to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers. Well, I don't see a lot of that in here. They are an important component of this. So the base is our friend, and we have to be diligent with them. That's one of them. The next thing we have to do is we have to be diligent and be friends with our neighbors. That means Seal Beach. If we consider this, if we don't right now look at our sewer system and their sewer system, and we're not working together, they're about to build another project where they're being pushed behind Old Ranch. And if we're not working with them, will that impact us? We have to work with the sewer department. We have to work with the sanitation department. These all have to be done, and these aren't getting done. This project came to us in 2021 as a concept. All those years should have had a lot more done, and we should have had a lot more meetings prior to us sitting here with one project asking us to go through with it tonight. I just can't see that yet. I don't mean to sit down and think it doesn't have merit, but the point is, we do have to work with Seal Beach. We have to work to make sure our residents are safe. I heard a word tonight about the sewer. There's no will letter. Well, these things should be done. This should have been done before you came to us. We have aging systems. We know that. They have aging systems. We're rebuilding things. All of these processes have to be taken into account, because if we don't, when that next project comes up behind Old Ranch, is that going to impact this project? High probability. Will it go over into the shops? It might. I don't know. I just know that we have a lot more to do than what's being done here tonight. I'm just concerned about other projects. Trash, just to let you know, our neighbors have an HOA. They just don't abide by it. So yeah, there are things that people do that they don't follow. You might say, well, they can here. I don't know. I'm not going to guarantee it. But what I do know is I would have liked to have seen more low-income housing. We talk about trying to bring people low-income housing. Well, then where is it? 77 homes low-income housing versus over 100 of other higher-priced homes is not low-income housing. And those are some of my concerns. I have nothing against the project. I think one person that I was talking to at the base made the best comment. The right project, the right way, no issue.
Do you want to go on that end, or you want me to go? All right. I have somewhat of a differing opinion, having done my own research and talked to developers and seeing what their perspective is as well. It is not uncommon for everything to be so tight when coming to the Planning Commission. We are still at the very early stages of this development. Okay, the right to use and everything with Seal Beach, I understand. But like Art alluded to, that can be a post-entitlement procedure where we get the rights to use a sewer or not use a sewer from Seal Beach. I can guarantee you that we aren't going to issue a permit when they come to get a permit if they don't have access to the sewer system. So for me, at this point in time, to get a project moving forward doesn't necessarily impact, oh, well, we didn't get enough right away now, because that has to be there before the next step can be processed. And we can still set up building permit restrictions and things if they don't put that in place. They will not break ground if they don't have a sewer. That is a given. As to, the 10-foot of extra space in Arbor Park, that is an extra consideration for the park and the spaces there. Whether we can break down the fence or have those automatic lock gates, that's an added bonus. That actually has no impact on their overall scheme. That is an extra that they've put in and put some extra thought into that to allow for the potential use of this added green space that is not part of their calculation of green space and green space requirements at all. In fact, I live right behind Cottonwood Park. There is actually a lot of people, I don't even know if they're allowed to have it or not, but they have back gates that go open into Cottonwood Park, and I know they utilize them on a daily basis. That park closes. You're not allowed to be there at certain parts of the time. But they have a back gate entry that is not lockable. They can actually go in and have free access to that, but they have to abide by the rules and procedures of the city, so they aren't in Cottonwood Park at those points in time as well. So whether or not those gates come in or not, I think is somewhat irrelevant to the overall scheme of what this project has. Yes, in a perfect world, I don't disagree with you. Low-income housing, we need it, we want it. We're required to have it, I think, more than anything. Our RENA numbers say we have to have these numbers. Could we have had more? Yes, but we also have to look at the economics of it. How feasible is that? Okay. I also know, based on when we were doing RENA numbers, we have other areas that we're going to be coming in where we're going to have a higher density of the low-income project and less density of the, I don't forget what you called it, but the purchased properties, market rate properties. So I think this still systematically complies to what our requirements are as a planning commission, our requirements in looking at the RENA numbers, what we need to do to comply. I think there are far more pros to moving forward on this plan than there are cons, because I think the cons are will be addressed down the line. Okay. Plans change over time. If anybody's ever built a house from the ground up, your plans change from the time you set the plans to the time you actually have a full house built. You're going to have 1,500 things that are different from what you first started. I have no doubt that's going to be the case here, where a developer is going to run into problems. But I don't think those problems are not fixable as we get to that stage. I don't think we need to imagine what the final project is going to be exactly today, but we do need to get this project moving forward, because as a city, we are obligated to do it. As a planning commission, we have to look at what is the best interest of the city. Seal Beach can still prevent us from accessing the water or the sewer line. If that happens, developer, our city, we might have to run a line to our own sewer district. Well, how much is that going to cost? Are we going to be able to mitigate it? I don't know. But we won't have a building permit until that we know for a fact where we're tapping in and that it's feasible and acceptable to both our neighbors and to our city. That's it.
I'll echo those opinions, actually. So I think that there's a lot of good questions raised here. There's a lot of good discussion raised here. But I do think, too, that this is part of a process. And so this approval process is just moving this project along. There are a lot of things that the developer's going to have to run into. He's going to have to deal with other approvals that they're going to have. But I think that this is part of the process. I think hearing from the public is great. I think there's a lot of good comments, a lot of good questions. But I think that the developer needs to move forward with this approval to get to the city council so they can move forward with their project and deal with some of these issues that we're talking about, that we've raised. And I'm sure that they've been thinking about and getting that solved as well. So I think that's, I'd like to see this project move forward.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with both
Commissioner Lowe and Zomer on one thing. I think things can be worked out, and I don't think anything will be built without a permit. But I do feel that there are some items here, and it goes to process, that should be settled before the EIR is finalized. I think the biggest one is the sewer, not having a will-serve letter or any kind of communication with Seal Beach. That bothers me. The joint force base not being able to at least have some type of letter MOU or something that the base knows what's going on. I didn't see that in the report. I think there's a lot of reports, as people read it, I think there's a lot of conditions that the city did a good job protecting the city and protecting the project as a whole. I think there's a lot of good things about the project. If you look at the attachment A, I think it is, with the conditions, there's a lot of good stuff in there for the city. But I think process-wise, I don't see any problem with getting some of these answers answered by staff and then bringing back this to the commission to look at one more time. I think the other thing that I got to say that, you know, the EIR was, and it was mentioned tonight, and you can do this, it's perfectly legal, that the developer can develop their own EIR, and the city can use that, and that's perfectly fine, it's legal. But we did have, you know, we had a nice report tonight from the city, from Mr. Noda and our consultant. But I would like to see the Planning Commission get a copy of that review to see what our consultant, you know, all the mitigation things were replied to by the original consultant of the EIR. At least that's what I can tell from the document. So as the city, I think there's nothing wrong with looking at why we agree to certain or no mitigation or other items that we don't feel raise any kind of problems in this project. I think it's a good project. I think people can get around it. I think I just feel like the process is pushed a little bit, and I think this can come back to us for you know, getting those answers. Direct staff. I have some more questions tonight. And I think, you know, the staff could come back to us and give us those answers, and I think I'd feel much more comfortable.
Sure, Paul. Yeah, I agree with what was just said. I know the issues that I raised, questions I raised regarding some of the parking, the sizes. I think there needs to be I think staff they've been taking quite a few notes. I think we've given them enough information that we need to have answers to, at least come back either regarding the base, regarding the some of the development issues. And I think we could continue this to our October meeting and have some of these issues resolved with respect to an easement, some of these agreements, as far as I'm concerned, the parking in the affordable housing, if you have a 17-foot drive, how is that resolved? And see it on a set of plans and bring that back, and then a little further discussion, maybe not so late, and we come to a vote on the project. So if that, I don't know if we need a motion for that, but that would be my recommendation too.
I support the same. I think that we need more time to really have a thorough look at this.
And it will give time, if there's people in Seal Beach that they want to look at this, as I think it was Patty Campbell, I haven't seen her in forever, you know, take that back. You have a month to go through 2,500 pages. I think I got through about 600. And but a lot of it is, well, I don't want to discount it, but a lot of it we see it repetitively. So you know, you kind of key on where the hot buttons are. And but anyway, so I think that's what I think. I think we should continue this 1 month and get these issues resolved. We need a motion?
Any motion?
Yeah, I'm listening to where this goes. We would need, if the desire is to continue it to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission, we would need a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to continue it to the next meeting.
Well, before you make the motion, are we setting up contingencies on what we're going to be addressing at the next one?
I think the staff has the notes, and
But
with the issues
specifically-
specifically to the items I think that have been, that we have raised, not up here, not necessarily.
But are we going to, well, some other people raised, she said she wants the,
I think
right
we
of-
can have,
right
we
of
can have
use letter.
conversation with staff. I mean,
I mean-
I would, I know I've called Ron at least 3 times in the last 4 days, and as things come up, I think we can get some of that, resolved, so staff is a little more focused on what comes before us. I wouldn't expect a full-on staff report just like we just had. I would expect just
I think just more clarity of certain
clarity on
items.
some of the issues, and then
but what are we requiring from the other sources, from the JFTB and City of Seal Beach? Are we requiring that the next meeting, they need the letter? We need the easements, we need this? I mean, I don't want to kick the can down the road if we're not going to have it for 30 days.
I agree, and I don't feel that, I mean, the developers are professionals. I mean, they obviously know what they're doing, and they're gonna have to deal with the sewer, and they're
Right,
gonna have to
right.
deal with the base.
I'm not worried about this.
So, like, what specific do you want to continue it for? Because I don't think, like, the base and the sewer, that's their problem.
Right.
Like, they're not gonna get a permit if they don't figure that out.
Can I ask a question? And I don't know this, so I'm going to ask of the consultant, and I thought I read this, that will serve letters on utilities are a part of an environmental impact report. Is that true? Or do they need to be in there? Can it be wishy-washy? I thought I read that that was a requirement of an environmental impact report. Will serve letters from the utilities.
We typically have had them before.
There are a number of letters from service providers in the appendices of the EIR. For this particular issue, it's a condition of approval that they, because they were absent, that a will serve letter from Seal Beach. So we
Well,
made it a
correct,
condition
'cause
of
we
approval.
we assume that the hookup could just happen. I think that's why it
But
was
from
missing.
a CEQA standpoint, the options were addressed in the EIR.
So in other words, no matter if we approved or not today, it's not going to have any basis if there's no condition if there was no approval. It's a condition for our yay or nay. So.
Right, and we're just making a recommendation to the
Yeah.
city council.
Yeah.
This
Right.
meeting
Oh,
will happen.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, I understand that. I just think
Well,
yeah.
and
Some clarity should be put in, just as transparency. I
And the
think.
clarity also to bring back is with respect to the easement, the 10 feet at the north end of the property. I'm of the opinion that, as I read in the waiver request, that request by the city for this 10-foot easement to be utilized for parking for Arbor Park is at the expense of a waiver on the 200 square feet of common area per unit. I think that's more important, that be preserved for quality of life for the people inside there, to have that common area. And I think that needs to be we need to consider that, and also with the parking, there needs to be sufficient parking. They're gonna, they cannot encroach into the fire lane. That means they've got to move 2 feet the other direction. I don't know that is going to impact, we have a landscape requirement, 15% or whatever it is of the site. Is that, see, when it's done and we vote on a lot split, okay, does that lot have 15% of,
Right.
I mean, it's not much green area, let's just be frank. I mean, it's not, okay? And as they take that away, is that going to make any impact on that, I don't know.
If you
What-
partition it,
what-
does it isolate it, that it requires both lots to have 15%?
Well,
Since
yes.
it's still a
it-
singular
it-
project.
It's still it's, yes.
How about before we go way off track here? Well, let me respond to you, Commissioner Zelmer. What about if we said, continue it for staff to provide clarity and bring back progress on these, which I think are important items, bring back progress of what the communication is, because I heard no communication. I heard some, I heard little. Bring back progress, not a hard document, because like you said, it's a condition of the project. We're just we can move it through and the city council can deal with that. I understand that part, but I think we need to see the progress, I think at this point, because I think it was said before, I don't feel like it's a complete document until I have the progress. And I think that's how I feel, and I feel like the only document that I would like to see the third-party review, but I mean, that's just me. So I'll ask for it, and if I get it, I get it, so.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think we have a right to the community. Moving it forward, what's the rush? Why can't we have this chance to go through this and do this the right way? There really isn't. We've done other projects where we've made them come back so that we had our questions answered and we were all satisfied. I'd rather see that we work together to try to make sure before we move a project forward, we are all pretty much very satisfied.
I don't doubt that. My suggestion was, let's have some things that we want to be presented at the next one, not necessarily, we can't move it forward. I want to push
Right.
everything. I'm not forcing
Right.
anybody
I
to make
understand.
that decision. But I want to set some boundaries that, okay, what is expected at the next one? Because then I don't want additional questions to come up regarding the same subject line that we've discussed today.
I agree with that.
So when you do your motion, my suggestion is have a line item of things that you want to hear, whether that be a progress report, as my colleague suggested, information on what they talked about with Seal Beach, Joint Forces Training Base, whatever it might be. Art's answer on the 2-foot setback on the parking. Can you take it out? Does it include the 15%? Those things we have questions for. I don't argue that we can continue this for a month, but I want to have those specifically line itemed
Right.
in the motion so that they are addressed and we aren't coming back later on, hey, you forgot about this one, or hey, what are the other things? Because I do think this project needs to move along. I don't think it's a matter of if it's going to happen, but a matter of when.
Right.
So I want to just be efficient in conducting business here and saying, okay, what is the expectation of the planning commission for our next meeting?
Agreed. And Michael, if we continue it, since it's continued, we don't have to go like through a whole like a big presentation again?
That
Or-
that would be at the pleasure of the planning commission.
Okay.
Staff would certainly be prepared to give a comprehensive staff report and presentation if you'd like, or you can just understand it as being a continuation of the public hearing, and we can pick right up with dialogue concerning the project where we left off.
Okay.
Could I make a request, if you could, before there's a action taken? I really feel like we would, and we appreciate all the input. This is certainly a lot to consider, and, but I really do feel like there are some issues here that are protected within the conditions, the way they're drafted, that we will have to face downstream. And a delay of the vote is not going to change any of that at all. That's our strong opinion. We could come back a month from now, we could come back 2 months from now, and we're going to have the same speakers with the same concerns, and we're not going to be able to bridge that gap until we take this step and the next step, and invariably, we will have to encounter all of those things, and there have been comments about the appropriate venue for that. We'll shift to Seal Beach, and there's no doubt that that is true. But delaying this vote or continuing this item to address these issues is not going to change that in any way, in our opinion. We're perfectly comfortable addressing some of the conditions and adding those that Commissioner DeBolt had raised, specifically about the additional trash container on the affordable side. We're happy to make it a condition that we extend the 2 feet to satisfy the 19-foot parking area, and that if there's a deficiency with open space or green space, we work with staff define those. That's typically how those types of things are addressed, and we'd like to.
Sir, if you could just pause for one moment.
Oh, sure.
This is my misunderstanding. I thought that the chair had allowed you the opportunity to speak. so
Do I
this
need
is
to
a-
reopen the public hearing, or just let the applicant speak?
You can let him respond. You can
Okay.
choose not to proceed.
Now you can respond.
I'm terribly sorry. I apologize for
Okay.
stepping out of turn. I'm sorry.
My fault.
In any event, I mean, I think that that is what our preference would be, to ask respectfully for a vote this evening. And if there are conditions that we can, concede to, we're happy to do that. And with direction to work further with staff would be our preference. But extending this another month is simply not going to address the concerns here this evening. This project needs to move forward in order to be able to get to the next step, to really dig in and address those issues. So respectfully request a vote if we could.
In addition,
In
I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
we have a motion second, but anyway, in addition, on the light item to discuss, I would just, my concern regarding the possibility of a court, of the, with the lot split, two developers working, different construction. My concern is I don't want to end up with a possibility of a vacant lot on one side. We have construction starting. Just some research by staff into issues like that. Not that that's going to be a major sticking point, but that concern just, I'd like to see the project completed, if it starts together, ends together. So, I don't know whether that gets into the affordable housing person obtaining his financing, making sure he's got letters of commitment, this type of a thing. I don't know. I don't know that process, so I think maybe just a little more information on that, and if that comes back, and
But I thought he said that, like, if you can't get the commitment until it's approved, he can't get the funding.
Well,
So.
Well, that's something we got to talk about.
yeah.
Well,
That's what we are talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
We shouldn't be talking about it,
He can't
though.
get the money to build it.
We shouldn't be
I'd
talking
like to
about
just
it.
have the staff do a little research, and I don't know if that's out of the ordinary,
I can recall a project in our town where we were given a promise and a commitment to build stage 2 and stage 3, and we've never seen that happen. They've come back to us with another type of stage 2, never happened. We see them frequently. Now they're owned by UCI.
Well, yeah.
So these are things that we're concerned about. We
And
need to have
placement-
something that's, just
Yeah.
like our commissioner says
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
I want to know more. I want this guarantee. I want something that.
Well, we may not have a guarantee, but it's
Key,
a
but I
little
want something.
further, just
Yes, I agree.
a little more comfort on that
I
area.
don't see the rush. I think that bringing it back and answering our questions is fair.
Chair Quilty, can I address?
I think we were in the middle of a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this
Okay, no
is,
second.
I think you have afforded as a courtesy
get
the
a
chance.
opportunity for the applicant to respond, but ultimately, if it's now among the commission for deliberation, potentially forming a motion, you may choose to just focus on that.
Okay, yeah, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
Wait, I'm sorry, could I please have the maker of the motion restate? Because there has been discussion of a motion requiring staff, based on our understanding of
right.
concerns that were raised, to come back with additional information and reporting to help
Right.
inform the commission and members of the public. And then there's also been discussion of a motion where we would actually itemize items or deliverables, so to speak, that you would like to have reported back specifically. So I'm a bit confused about the exact route we're going with the motion. So if I could please have some help with that.
Art's motions, you want to start?
Well, I'll make the motion. I like Commissioner Zelmer's comment regarding having it to specific items, okay? And if we want to list them, I would list them. For me, I would like to see on the site plan the location of the second trash enclosure, where it's placed exactly, so it doesn't conflict with any parking, doesn't conflict with any other amenities that are there, green space, open space, or whatever. I would like to see some type of examples or whatever, any type of research with respect to where we're approving a project by a single entity where it's going to be, we're going to split it off, and then we have a second entity that is going to take over the construction. I want to make sure that not make sure, it's not the right word. I want information as to, is there a way for us to somehow condition or otherwise ensure that either it could be by bonding that property is developed, because one is going to accelerate, one is going to proceed first. If the other one is going to happen, I'd like to know that it is going to happen. That's as clear as I can make it. I mean, I think the intent is there. Staff has a direction on that. Now, beyond that, I don't know what anybody else wants, but that's what I would like to see.
Can we possibly add to his motion if I have other suggestions?
You can
for him?
ask if you'll accept a friendly addition to the motion.
We accept a friendly addition to your motion.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
So in ties with that, both the developer and the builder both came up and said, we have the answers in our conditions. So I don't doubt that you do. You understand the problems we're facing up here. If we do continue this and we get this motion put through, actually giving us a brief of how those conditions are satisfied, okay? From if they already are, because they said they're already in the conditions, obviously 2,500 pages, but whatever. The other one is, what was your second part?
And that's with the parking also,
The 19 feet, having that.
Right.
I'd rather not necessarily set up a condition just for that. The 15% partition, after the partition, does that need to be satisfied if they are partitioned out? I think that is the question that I had received from you that I thought was most relevant here.
Okay.
Will we be in violation of anything if we?
Does one lead to another?
Right.
That's.
If our 15% overall is now conditioned, now one's 10%, one's 17%, but combined they're 15, whatever it might be, are we in violation retroactively? I'd like to know that. So I think that's it. I'd like to add kind of supporting briefs from both staff and the developers, if we do allow that motion, to help answer, maybe not every question, but as much as they can provide.
Right. All right.
Can I make one friendly addition, or two? That we would receive a progress report or some type of staff report on the progress with Seal Beach, talking to Seal Beach, and then talking with Joint Force Training and Base about the issues that we talked about tonight.
I'll second the motion if you have nothing else to add.
Are we adding both friendlies or just one friendly?
Well, I
think the
I think that I would prefer just to stick with, keep it simple, what Mr. Zelmer said, Commissioner Zelmer and myself, without, I'm just going to say that, and only to say this, that our approval will ultimately be conditioned upon them having a sewer connection. That's up to Seal Beach.
Okay.
Whether they have it, I don't see any reason to delay, at least delay an approval beyond that, because we don't know the time schedule for Seal Beach, but the bottom line is that I think we could talk about conditions for a.
Well, then the progress report would be, we tried to reach out to Seal Beach, they didn't talk to us.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll go
mean,
along with that.
It's just a progress report. I mean, I think staff needs to reach out to Seal
Make a
Beach
phone
and
call and see
Joint
how long
Force
it will take.
Pretty simple.
If I could, even absent the incorporation of that specifically into the motion, staff is hearing the concerns
Okay,
and will
that's
be
what I thought.
prepared to provide an update to you.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And to be clear, that's to continue the public hearing
Yes.
to the
To
next
continue the
regular
public
meeting
Right.
of the planning commission.
Yeah.
Do we need to open or close the public hearing and all that stuff?
We're continuing the public hearing as opened.
So more people can speak next month?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed. Yeah. Okay.
What's next? You don't want to hear our reports?
Okay, do we have any items from the Development Services Department?
Yes, I have a couple really quick. So first one here is I sent an email to the commission, but we are having a community center grand reopening scheduled for October 4th at 5:30 p.m. All our commission, including the Planning Commission, is invited to attend. And then I just want to remind that we have a Nights on Pine event. It's held third Saturday of the month, and our next scheduled event is scheduled for October 16th at 4 p.m.
Can you, no, quiet.
Could
Hey,
you
guys,
put-
we're still in session. Can we keep it down, please?
I was speaking, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you said October 19th? My mistake. Nights on Pine, October 19th, 4 p.m.
That's on fine. Okay, do we have any commissioner reports?
That's not a Saturday. What's the trunk or treat day?
That's the 26th. That's the 26th,
Oh,
yes.
Saturday.
Yes. At Little Collingwood Park.
I thought it was
Okay.
either.
Talk about parking.
Yeah.
They invade my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I have no problem parking. I park my car right on the park.
Okay, do we have any commissioner
Yeah, I
reports?
Oh, yeah.
No,
No.
thanks.
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.
All right.
I'm glad everyone passed.
I can leave all this.